Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Just Drew podcast. Today's guest is Aaron Bailey. He is a ADHD life coach who just moved his family and his business from the Yukon all the way down here to Simcoe, Ontario. As a person with ADHD, a combination type, a learning disability, generalized anxiety disorder, and other mental health issues, Aaron not only understands the difficulty that comes along with living a life with ADHD, but wants others to understand as well. Aaron holds an advanced child and youth worker diploma from St. Lawrence College. He also holds a Bachelor of Human Services from Griffith University and has a certificate from the ADHD Coach Academy. Aaron has dedicated his life to helping people with ADHD, learning disabilities, and other mental health challenges. He is a husband, a father of two beautiful daughters. He loves all things music, and especially he thrives in the great outdoors where he feels grounded, biking, hiking, skiing, etc. Aaron is one of the most positive and uplifting people I've ever met. I myself was diagnosed with ADD as a kid, which we now know is just another form of ADHD. I've always struggled with paying attention in school, staying on task, procrastination, just general forgetfulness, forgetting everything, forgetting where things are, and that still carries throughout my adult life. I've built practices over the years to mitigate these things in my life and have even put new ones into practice that I've learned from Aaron, and to great success, I might add. For those listening with ADHD, I hope this episode is helpful for you. And for those who don't have it, I hope it shines some light and some insight into how someone's mind with ADHD works on a day-to-day basis. Anyways, here's today's custom cocktail.
Introducing the strawberry clarity. You will need a strawberry jam, lemon juice, vodka, a sprig of rosemary, and strawberry bubbly or any carbonated water will work. First things first, chill your cocktail glass in the freezer for about 10 minutes. While that is chilling, in a cocktail shaker, add a tablespoon of strawberry jam, a half ounce of fresh lemon juice, and an ounce of vodka. Fill the shaker with ice and shake vigorously until well chilled, about 15-20 seconds. Strain the mixture over ice in your now chilled cocktail glass. Add a splash of strawberry-flavored bubbly or carbonated water. Lightly toast the rosemary sprig until it becomes aromatic. Submerge the toasted rosemary sprig in the cocktail and give it a gentle stir. Lastly, garnish with a slice of fresh strawberry on the rim of the glass. Now, here is Aaron Bailey.
Hey you, you're listening to Just Drew.
The Zoom, I feel like it takes that like human connection out of it a little bit, because there's a huge difference between me and you sitting right across from each other and then like looking at a laptop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's like, there's problems with sound and, I like it to look beautiful. I like purposely put like specific lighting up and,
Nice.
and
I like your honeycomb design on top too.
Yeah, that was partially to patch a hole in the ceiling. Because it was an ugly ceiling fan. You know, the big ones with the blades.
Oh, yeah.
It's great when you're sleeping, you have a fan blowing on you, but like for a studio, it looks hideous. So I took it out, and then obviously there's a hole where the light was. And I was like, wow, this is just going to echo, so I need to dampen the sound, and then it doubles for covering a hole.
Yeah, love that. It reminds me of the James Webb Telescope.
Yeah, the golden panels.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they are kind of, what is this, a hexagon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is 6? Hexagon's 5?
Pentagon?
Yeah, I think, because a pentatonic scale is 6 or 7. Shit, what is it?
Are you a musician at all? Do you play?
I play music. Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a musician. But wow. I play music, yes.
That's more than what I can do. I would consider you a musician, not being... I used to play drums in high school.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
A drum kit, but it's very different because I don't know how to read actual notes.
Oh, neither can I.
I know what an eighth and a 16th, but I don't know A, B, C, D. I don't understand that.
I can't remember that either for the life of me.
Oh, and it was such a pain. Like I showed up to grade 9 music class. I played a little bit in middle school as well, and then they want to test me on piano music because technically piano is percussion. Technically.
Yeah.
Technically. So like,
Yeah.
you need to know this. And I was like, I was never taught this. And they're like, want to test me already. I'm like, you need to teach me this first.
Yeah.
So I kind of fizzled out in high school, my love for it.
Fair enough. No, I mean, in classic ADHD form, right? I play guitar. I have a cajon, which is like a.
I know the cajon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got one of those, and in most typical ADHD fashion, I play the didgeridoo.
Oh, sick.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. I've got 3 of them.
So my
Three
parents have
didgeridoos.
one in their house.
Do they?
I don't know how to use it. I've tried.
It's hard. It's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I just kind of mimic it with my voice through the huge long tube.
That's pretty. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
Australian.
It is. Yeah.
One of these is bouncing.
Is it that?
Maybe take the headset
Headset
off.
off it.
I bet you that's it. That's fine. Was that it?
Oh, it's this. It's this one. Oh, maybe not. Is that better?
Huh. I wish everything was cordless, honestly. It took me like days to figure out where to put everything.
A lot of chords.
A lot of cords, and I'm trying to hide it so it's not ugly looking. So I have like cords running underneath the. What is that?
Is it? That?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's yours.
this.
It's yours.
It's mine.
You're the culprit.
There we go. Nothing now.
There you go.
There
I
we
was
go.
like,
Fixed.
all right, we figured it out.
If anybody's
Sorry,
going to
everybody.
find the small thing that beeps, it's going to be people with ADHD.
Yeah, we'll just stop. But we gotta figure it out.
See,
100%.
if we didn't have the headphones on, we could have done an hour of that just going tap, 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 tap,
That would have been
tap,
awful.
tap,
Yeah,
tap,
that
tap,
would've been
tap,
awful.
and we would have never heard it.
You can just fix it in post, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fix it in
Just
post.
click.
Yeah.
Well, first off, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And what do you do, Aaron?
I mean, that's a great question. My title is a certified ADHD Life Coach. And really what that means is I work with people who have ADHD and help them understand what's going on in their brain, and which helps explain why we behave and act in certain ways, and then help come up with individualistic strategies to either, get through something that's challenging them, or just help them work with their ADHD and thrive instead of just survive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I coach adults 18 and up, and then I offer mentoring for youth 12 to 17, just because, as a former youth with ADHD, the social aspect is really hard, and that self-esteem can be pretty brutal. So just connecting with kids and letting them know they're, not alone, they're not stupid, they're not broken.
Yeah.
And so that's my coaching realm. But then I offer presentations and workshops on ADHD for educators or anybody who's interested in.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever go around to like the high schools and teach and things like that?
I used to back in Kingston.
Yeah.
I used to give presentations to classes, but I haven't in years.
Okay.
And I don't know why that's shifted. I don't know if it's because I haven't advertised to that area. But the last one I did was in Napanee for all the grades, but I split them up between grade 9s and 10s, which was 300 kids, which is the most overwhelming thing. Nothing is more terrifying than talking to teenagers, right? And then I did the 11 and 12s right after, another 300 group, and that was the last class. That was the last school I did.
Yeah.
But it's emotional, right, for kids to hear that there's someone else out there like them.
Yeah.
And for some of them, it being the first time being acknowledged, and making sense of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggled with it. I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid, but now that I know it's all the same, it's all pooled in the same thing. It's all kind of ADHD.
Yeah, so you have ADHD, and then it's separated into 3 different distinctions, right? You have ADHD, mainly inattentive type, and that's what ADD was.
That's what I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we consider, those space cadets or people who lose track and
Yes.
and get caught in their thoughts. So that used to be ADD, and now you have ADHD, hyperactive and impulsive, and those are the kids in school throwing things.
I have a close friend like that.
Yeah.
Yes, we're very tight, but he had a very rough childhood, I would say.
Just can't stop, right? And then
Can't
the third
stop.
and then the third one is the combination, which is what I have, which is all 3.
The trifecta.
Yeah. So you've got the inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity, which is just
Dangerous.
yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
And it's so I call ChatGPT Chad. I asked Chad and I was like, hey, tell me a little bit about ADHD. Can you pull that window over, Drew?
Yeah.
Because it literally, it said exactly what you just said. And I am like one of the, see the highlighted line? That is me. Sorry, are we recording the screen dream?
Oh shit, no.
Hold on.
I just had strawberry come out of my mouth.
Oh, I did muddle some strawberry in the bottom.
It's all good.
Hope that doesn't gross you out. I know some people don't like pulp and stuff.
No, I love it. Avoidance of tasks that require sustained mental effort. Yeah.
Especially like mundane tasks.
And that all makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And I love to,
There we go.
when it said
Thank you.
sustained mental effort too, because a lot of people think ADHD is the lack of attention,
Yeah.
which is not true. It's the sustained attention.
Yeah.
Right. Focusing on something for a really long time. I have a great attention span. It's just on everything instead of one thing.
Yes, I struggle.
Right.
I still struggle
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah.
I do too many things, I think. I've talked about this before. It's like,
Yeah.
I do too many things.
Well, and again, that when you look at this, the psychology, the neurology of ADHD, it absolutely makes sense. And when you're talking about mundane things that aren't interesting, ADHD is a lack of dopamine, right? Which is a neurotransmitter, neurochemical in our brain, and that affects us in motivation, behavior, reward. But our brain is in constant search of dopamine, right? We're always looking for that dopamine hit, and so they say that ADHD is a interest focused nervous system. You can focus on what you're interested in because you're getting a dopamine hit. And so when you're doing a mundane task that is not interesting to you, your brain is going to be like, do something else. Get me out of this because this is uncomfortable. This sucks.
Yeah.
And people with ADHD feel emotions much more intensely than neurotypical people. So if something's uncomfortable, it's going to be unbelievably uncomfortable. If it's boring, it's going to be unbearable.
Yeah, like painful almost.
Absolutely visceral.
Yeah.
Viscerally painful.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you're trying to focus on a task that, for one, takes sustained mental effort, which is exhausting for us, and you're doing it on a task that is boring or not interesting to you, your brain is going to be screaming at you to do anything else, even if that's important and it needs to get done, like taxes or bills or something, right? And this is where that stigma and misunderstanding of ADHD being, lack of effort or willpower, you want to do those things.
Yeah, I don't know if other people without it are just like, oh, this person isn't disciplined enough. And it's like, I am with a lot of things, but I do exactly what you're saying. I struggle with things.
Yeah, and I mean, think of it as a kid. What kids are told: try harder.
Yeah.
All right. Just remember. Just focus.
Yeah.
Just listen. And we want to do these things, but our brain is screaming at us because we need to find that dopamine, right? Our brain needs to stay active.
Which is probably why I'm not an alcoholic or abuse anything, but I like alcohol. I like caffeine.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I assume that does affect dopamine. So,
Well, do you know what caffeine is?
no, tell me.
It's a stimulant.
Yes.
And we're giving kids stimulant medication because it stimulates our brain. It gives us that dopamine so that we're on an even level now and we're getting a regular hit of dopamine so that we can sustain that. So we're not constantly searching for dopamine.
And when I'm the most effective is like if I just drank a coffee or drinking a coffee and work, that's when I get the most done. And then it fades and I'm like, I gotta move on.
Yeah.
But the project's not done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And why do you have to move on?
Because it's like excruciatingly
I'll do something
mundane.
different. I gotta do something different.
Gotta do something different.
You got to look for that dopamine somewhere else.
Yeah.
Something in the other room I gotta go touch or do or
Yeah, or clean, or
Yeah.
gotta go text this person, or I have an idea for this project. I gotta go call this person and talk about this new project. And
Yeah. And the new project is exciting.
way more exciting.
It's exciting. That
Yeah.
gives you dopamine. You're like, ooh.
Yeah.
All these things, right? It's like, I don't know if you ever watched Family Guy, but that like, ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh,
Yes.
a piece of candy.
Yeah.
That's dopamine. Ooh, a piece of dopamine. Oh, I could call this friend. Ooh, I could do this. You can feel the excitement build.
Yes.
And then you want to do that. And this loses all the interest.
I very much say I'm a project starter, not a project finisher.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm in the midst of that right now. I'm creating a course and I'm like 80 to 85% done. And I don't want to do the last 10 to 15% because it's the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
It's getting, looking at the editing and the wording. And it sucks.
Yeah, you've done all the things about the project that you like to do.
Yep.
And then you leave the 15%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's awful. And one of the things that helps us focus too is something new and novel, something new and exciting because that gives us more dopamine, right? So if we work on a project for a long time too, and then that starts to lose that interest, that novelty, we need to move on to something different. And that's why they say, with ADHD, breaking things into smaller chunks. So you get that dopamine and then you move on to something else.
And it's like you achieve that little section. Hit.
Yeah.
and move on.
Yeah. It's like that sticker chart.
Yes.
Right? When you're a kid, ooh, I did something. Here's that dopamine. I want to do that again.
I make lists, but if I don't complete the list, I get stressed out about it. And I can see it sitting there.
Yeah.
But it is nice that you're like, ooh, boom, check. Okay, let's move on. It gives you that kind of that little dopamine hit
Absolutely.
for the next task.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried many different things.
Well, and I think I'm going to assume where you're going is that well, let's take that sticker chart example for a minute.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, Drew. Can you close that vent?
Yeah.
Can you hear that airflow?
Hear it.
I can
Yeah,
hear
can you
it in real life. I don't
I
know.
think I'm assuming that's what it is.
What was your furnace? If you turn the furnace.
But it's so humid.
It's so humid.
Might help.
After coming from the Yukon, I'm not used to the humidity here.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, let's not get derailed here, but I do want to talk. It's so interesting to me, the whole Yukon thing.
If we go back to that sticker chart, my office had this like move your body for 5 minutes a day challenge, and we got this calendar in the back wall, and we had stickers to put on it. And I can't tell you how motivating that was for me. I was like, gotta move, get that sticker. It worked for about 2 weeks, and then I lost the motivation because it wasn't new. It wasn't exciting anymore. It didn't give me that dopamine hit, right? And in that moment, there's a saying from one of the coaches at this the ADD school. It's called the ADD Coach Academy, but the coaching school I went to, and she says, we need to resparkleize things, make it new and exciting. So once I know that it's not working for me anymore, change the stickers.
Different stickers, yeah.
Right.
No more stars. Let's do rainbows.
Or sports or whatever,
Yeah.
or get more like detailed planet stickers. I'm a space guy, right? Find my interest, find what gives me that dopamine, and then every day I can be like, ooh, what sticker do I want today? Instead of using the same one.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Right?
the little things.
So it's not necessarily that the strategy isn't working for you anymore. You've lost that novelty to it, and you need to resparkleize it. I know people who will move their calendar sometimes in their house because then they walk downstairs and they go, where's my calendar? Oh, it's over there, right? And that gets that dopamine. You get that kind of excitement, and then you are paying attention to it again. And you're like, oh yeah, my calendar's over here. What's on my calendar? Right? Where if it's in the same place every day, for some people it gets boring and mundane, and they don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
I have clients who have painted black paint chalk on their wall and made a huge calendar. They can change the color of the chalk. They can doodle on it. They can do anything they need to make it work for them, to resparkleize it, to make it new and novel.
I like that.
Right?
I like that a lot.
Me too. Yeah.
So instead of us going, oh, it's not working anymore, like what's wrong with me? Change it up. What do I need to do now to make it exciting again?
How do you change it up? Because I do very repeat tasks. I edit, I edit these podcasts, I edit photos. So they're different projects, but essentially it's the same method of completing it. There's a process the same process you use.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I mix that up?
And I mean this is the tricky thing about ADHD, right? You have to find out what works for you, whether that's, fun new music when you're bored.
Well, funny enough, people might think I'm crazy, but when I edit the podcast, because I already sat through the podcast, but I have to sit through it a second time to cut it.
Right, of course.
To multicam cut, and I actually put music on and cut the podcast at the same time. Yeah. So people might think, like, if my wife comes and she's like, how are you listening to them talking and the music? She's like, I don't understand. I'm like, it just helps me.
Yeah, and same with me. My wife will be like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
It's just how my brain works.
Yeah.
Right? I need that other stimulation so I can focus on this.
It's fascinating.
Isn't it?
I don't know if I'd want, I do struggle with it on a daily basis, but I don't know if I'd want it any other way. Because there are some superpowers that come with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for my ADHD, I would not be where I am in my life. And there are days where I'm like, God, I hate this.
Yeah.
But again, it's acknowledging that it's not a character flaw. It's not something innately wrong with you, which is what a lot of youth, unfortunately, are to this day still being told. And then we grow up with that belief system. Oh, yeah.
Because that's what I was told. Well, it was mostly grade 5, but I was actually bullied by my teacher to the point where, we were having council meetings with my teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was such an asshole. But he would just pick on me because I couldn't pay attention.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, oh, I'm just a bad student, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, no, I'm just not interested in what you're teaching.
Yeah.
But, or if my desk wasn't clean enough, he would just dump it in front of the whole class of 30 other peers. And I'm very social anxiety at the time, not anymore. Mm-hmm. But that's terrifying. Now you're embarrassed and now you're terrified and you're trying to pay attention, but you can't.
Yeah.
It was tormenting.
Well, and that's going to change what belief system you have on yourself, right? Kids are telling me all the time, like I'm unmotivated or I'm lazy, and when in reality it's they're doing something in a neurotypical way that is uncomfortable or doesn't feel good for their ADHD, and it's finding. I had a kid in the U.S. in university telling me he's unmotivated to study, yet he's been drowning for the last 2 years in this college course, trying so hard just to pass. I'm like, I don't believe that for a second. So we dive a bit deeper, and what's happening is that he's been studying, just sitting down at his computer, looking over his notes, and nothing's sticking in his brain. And so he doesn't want to do it because it makes him feel stupid. It makes him feel, weak and vulnerable.
It's like the anti-sticker method.
Absolutely,
almost.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just confirming his story that he's telling himself. See, I'm unmotivated. I can't do this. But we talked about generating AI flashcards or doing study groups or peer tutors at a university. And we actually ended that session early because he's like, I have motivation for like the first time ever for this course, because he's like, oh my God, I didn't realize I've been studying the wrong way for myself. But if you're not told that, if you don't bring attention to that, how do you change things?
Yeah.
You don't. You just go on believing this false narrative that you're going to go nowhere, you're stupid, and you can't learn.
I guess that's the thing. You go to lectures, right? And they teach you the stuff, but they don't teach you how to, like, the method of studying or like how to even retain it. They're like, here's the information you need to know, and then it's up to you to go off and study.
Yeah.
But there's no there's so many different methods.
Yeah, and every method is going to work differently for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing that's frustrating too is a lot of these neurodiverse strategies are good for everybody. They're neurotypical. Don't you drink my drink? Don't you do it?
He likes whiskey. He's a whiskey cat for sure.
It's important for everybody to figure out how you process your information or what studying do you like better. Are you a visual learner, a tactile learner, right? That's all really good information to know for everybody.
Yeah.
But nobody's being told this.
Yeah.
And then you just go out through life trying to use neurotypical strategies in a neurodiverse mind, and it's not going to work. I've had people crying to me saying, these are the first strategies that have ever worked. Why is that? And it's this. They've been trying in a neurotypical fashion. People are like, just try harder. Just do it. This works for me. Why doesn't it work for you? Because our brains are built differently.
There's how many billion of us? Almost 9. Just everything's going to vary per person on like an extreme basis. But
absolutely.
I would know, I think my cousins, they would put like little treats in every 10 pages or something in a textbook.
Yeah.
Whereas me, did you try that one?
Yeah, it didn't work.
For me, it's more like I have to write the textbook almost down by hand, and then I retain it better.
Okay.
Yeah, I am very much visual. Like if there's a YouTube video, I'd rather watch a YouTube tutorial than read an article on how to do something.
Oh yeah.
So if I'm trying to like fix a problem with editing software, I'd much rather watch a YouTube video on how to do it than read a Reddit thread on, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah, and that could be your learning style, right? Whether you're a visual one or even kinesthetic, right? Were you writing it down, just doing that?
I find that helps. Yeah, yeah. You just retain it more because you're like actually writing it down as opposed to just reading it.
Yeah, I think too. Like there's no right way to learn. Everybody learns differently, right? And I think unfortunately, it's still not being told that in the education system, and I feel for teachers because the education system's crazy at the moment, but
yeah, and they generally just teach one way, and there's also like sometimes 30 kids, right?
Yeah,
you can't teach on an individual basis because there's just too many.
Yeah, as a former educational assistant, it's crazy.
It's too hard. Yeah, and you
wild.
have people with ADHD and not with ADHD, and
and then autism and learning disabilities.
Yeah, language barriers.
Oh yeah. It gets it gets wild, man, and yeah. But ADHD is a lot more complex than we previously thought.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't aware of that. Like I just did a 3-hour presentation about ADHD and criminology and why we're at higher risk for that, right? Like ADHD is going to affect so many different aspects of our life and going to show up differently. This cat is hilarious.
He's a character. I was genuinely worried. I was like, is he going to be a distraction? I'm going to have to bring his tree in. Most podcasts, he's just there. Sometimes for 2 hours, doesn't move.
He knows.
He's a little more awake today for some reason.
That's all right. He knows. But yeah, ADHD is super complex, and the depth of it is starting to slowly come out. But it's gonna take a while for people to fully.
Yeah, I think it was more of a stigma. I don't know if COVID and mental health, it's a little more talked about now. But I know it seems different. Like pre-COVID, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't tell people I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid.
No?
I don't know. It was just like, why?
What's changed?
I think just like the climate, like the social climate, just people I find are just are more open about it.
Mm-hmm.
People I didn't know had, OCD or this, and they just talk about it now.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, had no idea you had that. I have this.
I love that. And I think you're right. COVID probably did change that, because I think we all gained some sort of mental health issue after that.
Oh, yeah.
Nonsense, right?
Oh, yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of opened up that conversation
Yeah.
to talk more openly. And,
Yeah.
and as more people begin talking about it, it's like that conversation you just said. Oh, you have this, I have this.
Yeah.
Well, let's chat more about it.
Yeah.
And getting that connection and having that openness is huge, and reduces that stigma, reduces the stress. We can unmask for the first time and be truly who we are and want to be, right?
Yeah, I'm like that. Well, I'm that hidden one. People, they're like, oh, you're not very hyper. You must be normal. Or like the average person. I'm like, no. I struggle in secret.
Yeah. And I think that speaks volumes to the preconceived notion we have of ADHD, of what it looks like, right? We still think it's a predominantly boy hyperactive disorder, right? And so if you don't fit that mold, you don't get looked at, right? And that's why women are highly underdiagnosed, because they still struggle, very much like you. They struggle with the inattention, but they mask it, right? And we compare ourselves to neurotypical people and be like, why are they doing so much better than I am? Because we think they're struggling the same way that we are, but they're not. So we think we're comparing, apples to apples, but it's apples to oranges, or to some other fruit, right? But we compare, and then we're so hard on ourselves, and that creates a lot of anxiety, right? We internalize our feelings. We don't let it out, especially women with the societal view of what women are supposed to be like, which is baloney. And so women have a lot more mental health issues. I've had a lot of, I'd say the majority of my client base are middle-aged women just getting diagnosed and making so much more sense in their life because of it.
Yeah.
And like you said, this struggling in silence.
Yeah.
Which is just awful. And I'm sorry that's happened to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggle with it all the time. Even probably today. It's just like an ongoing let's try this out, let's try that. Oh, this works better. Let's try this. Let's try that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and you're following that dopamine hit. Oh, this stopped working. Let's go down here.
Yes.
And it's exhausting.
Yes.
It becomes exhausting.
And I'm extremely forgetful. So is my dad, which I've heard it can be genetic, right? Hereditary. Mm-hmm. He for sure, I think, is you, like the trifecta. Yeah, cannot sit still. Like if it's his day off, he's cutting the lawn, vacuuming, doing this, doing that, doing this. He'll sit down and watch some movies and stuff, but it's for the most part he's not still ever.
Yep.
And we call him like a big kid. So when we're on vacation, we're all tanning, listening to music. He's in the pool playing with other playing football with other families' kids, because me and Hayden, me and my brother, we're older now. I'm 30. He's like, well, I want to play football. So he's playing with 12-year-old and a 15-year-old and playing catch. And we just oh, sorry. Yeah, that's my dad. He's just like a big kid, essentially.
Oh my God. That's
but it's great.
Me.
I love it so much. Yeah. It's so awesome to see.
But again, that makes so much sense. So ADHD is highly hereditary.
Okay.
There's different research out there saying, I've seen 1 in 3. If a parent has it, the child can have it, so that'd be 33%. I've seen it higher than that. But if you're looking at the big kid kind of thing with your dad, they found out that there's about a 30% developmental delay with ADHD. Now, this has nothing to do with your intelligence. Okay, it has nothing to do with your intelligence, but it can affect a lot of your executive functioning, like organization, time management.
I struggle.
Emotional regulation, but also emotional maturity. So think about that big kid.
Yes.
Your dad might be, my math is terrible. I have it on one of these slides, but my math is terrible. But if he's in his 60s and you look at 30% of that, he could be acting like he's maybe in his 40s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he wants to play
It was have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't want to sit still.
No, I have a story. I when I do these presentations, I tell the story. I went to sushi with a bunch of friends, and I can't eat eggs or dairy because I have colitis that runs through my family, which sucks. And there was one last row of sushi, and there was mayo all over it. And I can't eat that, but I said, is anybody going to eat that? And they're like, no, we're good. I was like, I'm going to eat that. And they're like, Aaron, you shouldn't. It's got mayo on it. I was like, I'll scrape it off, whatever, it'll be fine. I didn't scrape any of the mayo off, and I ate the entire thing.
Oh no.
And I had a presentation 4 days later.
Oh no.
Right? So I'm not thinking that, hey, if I eat this now, I'm probably going to be crampy, bloaty, and gassy in front of these people.
Yeah.
So I ate it. And, 4 days later, I'm up there giving this presentation. Just feel terrible. But in that moment, this now, that's all I was focusing on, right? But with my ADHD developmental delay, I was around 30, 31 at that time. And if you look at where I would be on that chart, it would be around 20, 21. And the friends I was with were 19 and 20-year-olds.
There you go.
Right? And even one of the guys said, oh, Aaron, this is why we like hanging out with you, because you don't act old.
Yeah.
I was like, what does that mean, man? Come on. But it's true, right? My social maturity is younger.
Yeah. I do feel much younger than I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so, and if you look, actually, Drew, if you don't mind
you
bringing
pull
up
the slides over?
the HGSS, whatever, the one with the...
Just pull them both over.
Yeah.
Or one. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, and if you scroll down a bunch, this is the criminal connection. Yes, keep scroll down. Yeah, go. There's a lot of slides. Keep going. And stop. Oh, right there. Go back down. Right there. So this is from ADCA, which is the ADD Coach Academy, the school I went to. But this is the developmental delay in children, and then I've got the extended one for adults. Right. So if you're looking at me, I'm between 30 and 35. Right. And so I'm anywhere between 21 and 25 years old.
Interesting.
Right. And so if you're looking at kids, look at 16. Right. They're in high school, but their executive function, maybe emotional maturity, is at 11. And you see this a lot in school, where kids can be super mature having this conversation with you, and then they turn around and do something just super immature and out of character. You're like, what's going on? And it's this ADHD developmental delay. Right? So look at your dad. Like, I don't know how old your dad is, but 60 between 65 is 42.
Turning 59. Yeah.
59. Yeah. So, 38 to 40 is potentially where he could be in executive functioning and emotional maturity.
Which is why he's so much fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your dad is a lot of fun, yeah.
He's a blast.
Yeah. He's a big kid.
He's a big kid. That's what my mom calls him.
Yeah, and that is 100% going to be me when I'm older.
I like that, though. I think it's fun.
Oh, it's super fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to be any other way. Obviously, it comes with some baggage, but you learn to manage with it.
Absolutely, and if you know this though, you can implement strategies.
Yeah.
Right. If you know your executive functioning is bad, and executive functioning, right, holds again like time management, organization, emotional regulation, emotional modulating, all that fun stuff. You can have strategies to implement them when you need them.
Yeah.
I have reminders all over my house because I can't remember a thing.
Yeah, I'm big on sticky notes, or I'll put timers on. So if I know I'm leaving the house at 8:50, I'm like, hey, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this. And like if I'm going on a shoot, I go through like a very specific checklist. And like I do not turn that ignition on in the car unless I've checked everything on that list. Yeah. Because otherwise yesterday I played baseball, forgot my jersey. Right?
Yeah.
I got raincoats because it was going to rain. I got my wife water. I stopped and got Powerade. I have everything I need. Forgot the most important thing was a jersey.
That's hilarious.
So I just played in like my coat that I had.
Love it.
But it's just like, you can try your best, but sometimes you'll still fuck up.
Absolutely.
I just laugh at it now. Before I used to get really frustrated. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, I need to be better.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, well, yep, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Well,
and I love that. You're taking that shame and guilt away, right? And you're just saying, this is who I am, this is what I do.
I can't change it. So it's like, I'll just try my best, and sometimes you still fail.
Well, and as an inattentive, that's, my coach says that you need to have prompts because our memory is piss poor.
Yes.
And so we're going to forget. And then we inevitably get frustrated on ourselves when we forget. So if you have these visual prompts, I have, again, Drew, if you don't mind going down further, like almost all the way down to my, go back up a couple. One more. One more. Sorry. Right there. That's my morning routine. Because I have 2 kids and I could not for the life of me remember to brush my teeth, take my meds and eat breakfast. I couldn't.
You're taking care of them.
Yeah. And it's crazy, right? You gotta go, you gotta take them to the bathroom, you gotta get them dressed, you gotta get everything ready. And I get to the office and be like, oh my God, I didn't do anything. And so I actually printed 3 of these, one in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, and one by the back door, because I needed that many reminders and prompts to make sure that I had that. And after a while, I didn't even start using the Velcro. I just needed that visual reminder. Because like you, I don't want to read.
Yes.
Right? If I look at a picture, I know what it means immediately instead of having to process the writing.
You know what I do? I put my vitamins in front of the coffee.
That's a smart idea.
Because I have coffee every morning.
Yep.
And I go to make coffee. Oh, okay. Vitamin D. Here's my multi. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, now make the coffee.
Yeah.
And I purposely put it there because I know I'm going to go for coffee.
Yeah. And that's ingenious.
Yeah.
That's a prompt.
Yeah. Without me realizing.
Yeah.
I just naturally did that. I was like, well, I'm going to make coffee, so I'm going to have to go through these vitamins to get the coffee. So.
Right. And, there's a woman, Jessica McCabe, she's from How to ADHD on YouTube, and she's phenomenal. And she has a video about hacks she has in her house. And what she does with her tea and coffee, she has it all in the same spot. So she doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, the filter, I need to go over here, and then inevitably get distracted. Yeah. And 30 minutes later, you're like, oh God, I was making my coffee, I have to come back. She has everything in the drawers, cupboards around her tea, so she doesn't have to leave. Right? Yeah. These are all prompts that you're using because you know that you might forget.
I was meeting Ash at baseball yesterday, so she texted me a list of things she needed. Without hesitating, I'm like, okay, I'm going to drop everything I'm doing right now. I'm going to get these 5 things, and I'm going to put them right in front of the door. And then I'll go back to what I was doing.
Nice.
Because if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be like, oh, it's time to go for baseball, grab my things, leave.
Yep.
And then I'm going to forget all these things that she needed. Mm-hmm. And then I'd be in the doghouse, so. Yes.
And that's a strategy you're using.
Dang.
Right? There's a video online with Jessica McCabe again, but Caroline McGuire, who is also from ADCA, and she was going through her house and saying what she does, and she has 3 kids, and she does a launch pad by the front door. So she has like her kids' swim gear, extra socks, and everything. And she said, with no shame or guilt, and I love this, she kind of said, I don't depend on my brain because I know I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
And so she has this launch pad so that when they go there, oh, I see my kid's swim gear, don't forget that. If the kid doesn't have socks and then she has to run back and add stress, she has a bit of socks.
Oh, that's sick.
By the front door, right?
Like a last minute care package almost.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I like that.
Because with kids, right, it's crazy trying to leave the house. And
or with me.
I was gonna say. Or just by yourself. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And what you did there too, when your wife texted you and you did it immediately, I came up with a strategy for myself. It's called oh my God, what's it called? I'm having a brain fart. Think, do. If you think it, do something about it immediately, because I know I'm gonna forget.
Think, do.
Meaning if that's like to put on if it means do it now, I can do it. If I need to put on a reminder, do it now. Because if I think about something, I'm going to forget it in a couple of seconds or minutes.
Another one like that is I've heard was don't put it down, put it away.
Yeah.
Because if I put it down, it's going to sit there.
Yeah.
It's not going to be put away.
Yeah.
So if I have just little things in the fridge, it's like, okay, I have the ketchup. If I put it down, it's going to be there for the rest of the day. But it's like, don't put it down, just put it away. Yep. I'm trying to do that with laundry, but.
Oh, laundry's so hard. I've been doing that. I've been saying to myself, actually, if I put a dish down, I'll say out loud, put it away, don't put it down. Because you're right. It's going to be there for weeks and then get gross. And I'm going to see it and be like, God, feel bad about myself.
I never did ask you, you're not ADHD, or do you know?
Yeah.
Or
No, I've never been diagnosed, but I think so. I tried to get diagnosed in university because I did, I tried Adderall. And I remember reading for the first time being like, whoa, I can read. Instead of just like scanning the page and then getting to the bottom and be like, oh fuck, like I was looking at the words, but I wasn't actually reading them. I was just thinking about other stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember taking like Adderall and be like, whoa, that helped. So I went to my doctor, but it was like the university doctor. So I'm like, hey, like I think I have ADHD. Like, can I get some medication for it? And he just made it like this long process. I was gonna have to get like my report cards from elementary school and all this, and then it was too big of a task. So I'm like, I'll just buy them illegally, I guess. So yeah, they really helped me pass university because otherwise.
Oh, interesting, hey?
Yeah, and I tried to get back on them a year or two ago, but I ended up getting a different medication called Volquest,
Okay, yeah.
and I don't like it. It's kind of just like a all-day stimulant.
Mhm.
Don't like it.
Not for you.
It kind of just makes my jaw float and just like I
Oh.
feel kind of turned on, which is good, I guess, for a bit of it, but I feel like it's just
Not all day though.
Yeah, like
You
it
almost-
doesn't
yeah.
help me like kind of focus. It kind of just makes me anxious.
Okay.
And again, I could have tried to get different medication, but that was too big of
And
a
that's
task.
that's the tricky thing with meds too, right? Is every med is going to affect you differently and everyone differently. Like you and I could be on the same med and you could love it, I could hate it. But how interesting that when you weren't on your Adderall, you would read something, but you weren't actually like digesting or processing it.
yeah.
And I've just learned about something called the default mode network, which is crazy. It's a bunch of different parts of our brain, but what it does or what it's supposed to do is let our brain wander when we're at rest. So when we're resting, when something doesn't take cognitive effort, it turns on and it lets our mind wander. And now there's something called the task positive network, and that's supposed to get activated when we're focused on a task. That does take conscious effort. And in neurotypical people, they're reciprocal. So when you do a task, your default mode network turns off and your task positive network turns on. They found with ADHD, when you're focusing on something, your default mode network doesn't turn on. And this is what I believe, is it Edward Halloway? I can't remember. Or Russell Barkley, he describes as this magnetic pull of distraction. Because when we're supposed to be focused on something, our default mode networks would be like, hey, remember this one time 7 years ago? Let's focus on that for a while. Because that's what it does when you're not focused on something, but it doesn't turn off. So when you're reading, you're physically reading, but your mind.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking about fucking 10
Yeah.
other things.
Sometimes I'll read a whole page and be like, what happened? And I'll have to
Yeah.
reread the page again.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like I was reading it, but I was thinking about something else while I was reading the words.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like computing what the words meant.
Yeah.
So I have to go and reread the page.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a big reader. I can read the same line 10 times over and I still don't know what it means. And then I get frustrated, I get flustered, and I put the book away.
Yeah.
Ah.
And it's unfortunate. So I use a lot of audiobooks,
Yes.
but I need the audiobook and the book at the same time because if I just have the audiobook, I still look around and get
Yeah.
distracted.
Podcasts, like I'll put a podcast on while I'm driving. I think not podcast, but audiobook
Yeah.
while I drive. And I remember it was Atomic Habits. And I got through so much of it. I'm like, I don't even remember what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It was just noise. While
Yeah.
I was driving, I was looking at the mountains. And I'm like, oh, this is so pretty.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I wish I could do more, but I need the physical book so I can follow along.
yeah.
So I can see the word.
Oh, interesting. So you listen and follow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I need all, because it helps me stay focused, right?
Ah.
Yeah.
I can read. Avid read. I don't know if I've been like my parents got me into reading very young.
Nice.
So I don't know if that's helped me in my adult years. But I don't struggle with reading. Reading I can as long as it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if it's interesting, I can binge a book.
Oh, yeah.
I can sit down for a few hours and read it.
Hyper focus on it.
Hyper focus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you love it.
because I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, books are fine. I've gone through some thick books before.
Oh, have
And but it's more of like that. I have a bit of like a determination. It's like even if it's not super interesting, I'm like I've started it, I have to finish it, and I'll just drudge through it and
Oh, really?
muscle it out. Yeah,
But it's not the same when you're working.
sometimes. Like
Sometimes, okay.
currently, I'm working on this photography project I did for the folk, but there's 500 photos I need to finish, and it's taking me like 3 or 4 days to do 250 of them. So it's like I try to do 100 a day or sometimes not even. But I have to be listening to a podcast while I'm doing it, or music, or I take breaks.
Yep.
I have a stand-up desk. I'll raise it, work standing. Make a snack, come back.
Yep.
I have to take breaks. That's like the key. But I don't know. If I'm really focused, or if I had a strong coffee, like 2 hours, I can sit down and hyper focus.
Yeah.
But the photography is a little more mundane, I think, because it's just coloring and lighting and things. Whereas video, sometimes there's music, there's audio, there's overlapping clips, there's pacing, it's a little more dynamic, I find.
A little more to do too, right?
Yeah.
A little more to focus on.
If it's a video edit, like a commercial, I can sit down for a long time, like 9 to 1, 9 to like the whole morning, and not move that seat and just cut. But photography, it's a hour. I got to take a break, come back, take a break, come back.
Something that could help with ADHD too, is that if we have a sense of urgency, that gives us
Only when I get shit done.
Procrastination.
yeah, we procrastinate because what urgency does is give us adrenaline.
It's a rush.
And
I
adrenaline,
love the rush.
yeah, is a rush of stimulants.
Yes.
Right? So you can try and set self deadlines to be like, I need to get 250 done by the end of this week.
That's when I'm the most efficient. Or it's like, my business partner will text me, hey, where are those pics? I'm like, oh shit.
Yep.
Boom. Next 5 hours, I'm just for like, yeah.
And that gives you the sense of urgency, right? And it gives you the adrenaline. That's why we leave things last minute. And that's why if we're playing sports or going down, if we're snowboarding, we're going straight down.
Yes.
we're not carving.
No.
Because we need that stimulation.
Yeah.
We need that adrenaline.
And I feel bad because sometimes people, if my business partner thinks I'm just being lazy or distracted and I'm just not, it's just like, no, I honestly just got caught in this project and just totally forgot.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't care about it. I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
I do care about it.
Yeah. But someone told me that if you think of the ADHD as a horizon, right? You have neurotypical people, they can see all their tasks coming up and which ones are important, which ones are the priority, right? And they can kind of figure out what to do. Where if you go to the ADHD horizon, they say everything hits us at equal value, right? So the ADHD horizon's flat. We don't know where to look. We still have all these tasks, but they come in at the same importance, and we don't know where to look until one of those gets enough energy that it explodes off the horizon, like someone saying, hey, where are those pictures? Shit, I need to get this done. And then you're like, okay, that's what I need to do now.
I asked my wife, actually. I'm like, look, I have these 5 things. I don't know what to work on. She's like, well, that seems like the most important. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to do it. I want to go cut the podcast. There's a podcast that I just did today or something. You're like, well, no, like you need to go and do these photos. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and there can be so much that can get in our way, right? Whether that's, interest or desire to do it. But if we feel like it's going to take a really long time, we have something called time blindness, right? We can either overestimate or underestimate how long a task is going to take. Mm-hmm. And remember, we feel things intensely. So if it feels like it's going to take a long time, that's heavy. That's uncomfortable for us. And we're like, ugh, I don't want to do that. It's going to take forever.
Yeah.
So I had this client, a youth client, he just refuses to make his bed. And so I asked him, I said, how long do you think it's going to take you to make your bed? You want to give a guess what he said?
An hour.
5 minutes. Okay.
He said 4 hours.
What?
He said 4 hours. I was like, okay, how long do you actually think it will take you to make? He said an hour. So I got him down by 2 hours. Yeah. And then I asked himself to time it. And he said 2 minutes. And so I asked him, like, how does it feel, to see, because I made him a chart. So how does it feel? And he goes, I still don't believe it. I go, oh, so there's a part of you that doesn't believe. And he goes, no, my whole body doesn't believe it. And I had a coach tell me that our feeling brain is stronger than our thinking brain. So he logically knows it doesn't take 4 hours to make his bed, but that's what it feels like.
Because it's so...
overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. It's uncomfortable. It's boring. He'd rather be doing something else. And since time doesn't really make sense to us, right? He'll get distracted. He'll play swords or do something which inevitably makes that task take longer. But it feels like it's going to take 4 hours for him.
I've never heard that term, time blindness.
Oh no?
But I am like instantly, I'm like, oh yes.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
Time blindness.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it shows up in different ways, right? Like if you think something's going to take a really long time, we'll avoid that because it's like, oh, it's going to take all afternoon. It's going to take all evening. I don't want to waste my evening, so I'm just going to avoid this, right? When in reality, it could take 30 minutes.
What about if you think it's going to be really short? Because I avoid those things too. Procrastinate. It's like, it'll take me like, I got to go do something. It'll take me like 5 minutes to shower, like another 5 to brush my teeth, maybe like 10 for breakfast. And all of a sudden I I can lay in bed for like another little bit. And then all of a sudden it's holy shit.
Yeah.
I have 30 minutes and I shower and I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do anything else. Like,
well, that's another way it shows up, right? We underestimate how long things take, and so we don't do certain things like showering. Or I was late to an ADHD presentation one time that I was giving because I forgot about traffic.
That is awesome.
Oh, it was super embarrassing. I was like,
no,
five. Oh my
I feel
God.
like it fits. Like, I feel like they'd be like, if you showed up on time, you're like, yo, this guy's lying.
yeah. Well, the principal was like, we said, what do we do if an ADHD presenter doesn't or is late for an ADHD presentation? I was like, yeah, sorry about that.
Sounds normal to me.
But I underestimated. I was lying in bed watching a YouTube video. Yeah. I was like, I've got time. And I was like, shit, there's 7 minutes to drive there.
Yeah.
And it takes 10. So I rushed, I got dressed. So it shows up like that too, right?
I'm notoriously late. Like, I'm known for it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not so much like I'm not aware of how much time. It's like I'm just trying to maximize my time. Because I feel like I'm trying to get everything. I need to squeeze every last minute out.
I can do a few more things before.
Exactly.
I can do a few more things. I can get this done.
Exactly. And then you're like, oh, shit. And then you don't leave that extra 10 minutes for something unknown, like an accident or traffic or...
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So I'm curious. So there's a couple of things that could be going on there. I thought I had a hat on for a second. No hat. If you're pushing everything in before you go with ADHD, right? So neurotypical people can. I always have to say this because I can't say the word by itself. They can put their thoughts, feelings, ideas into compartments. They can compartmentalize them. Where people with ADHD have 2 gears, which is now and not now.
Yeah.
And when we're thinking about something, and we're like, oh, this is on my note, I need to do it now. And because our working memory, which is the ability to, hold information in our brain, put it aside, and then utilize it later, is pretty weak. We're scared that we're going to forget.
Yeah.
So are you scared that in that moment you're going to forget, so you feel like you have to do it all now?
Maybe sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
Other times I'm like, I don't want to waste this 30 minutes being early. I'd rather waste the 30 minutes getting something done. Because I do get distracted and I get behind and I'm trying to catch up and things like that.
Right.
But other times it's like, oh, I have to do this right now because it's important. I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah.
So it depends, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and that's how, the now versus not now too, right? Shows up in what you were saying. We're like, oh, I don't want to shower right now. Like I want this time right now. I feel like just lying down.
Yeah.
Or I think I can squeeze this in. But we can't, right? Because we're not, and with that now versus not now, we're not really connected to our future self, right? Because 10 minutes a year is not now. Like we were talking before this podcast, you want to be big and everything right now, but it's hard to see and feel that down the line that's potentially where you could be because that's not now. Mm-hmm. Like I'm working on this course and it's killing me because I want to be done it now. I don't want to do the tedious 15, 10% last little bit.
It's not like you can't visualize that end goal. It's like it's a struggle now because you're dealing with the now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see, I'm like, this is where I could be.
Yeah, you can see it.
And I want to be there now.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go through the steps.
Yeah.
And that's super frustrating.
Yeah.
And that can be frustrating enough for us to be like, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. I'm never going to get there.
I'm going to go start a new project.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And that's why we can have so many projects and none of them are done.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of been like my mantra the last year or two is like completion, consistency. Because it's like I start some really cool stuff, but it's like I never, I struggle with completion. Yeah. All the time.
Oh, I want to go into coach mode and find out why.
Maybe I just get bored. I don't know. It's like when I shoot something, a project, I almost have to edit it almost within the same week. Because if I leave a gap of a couple of weeks and then I try to go back to it, it's like I'm on to the next thing.
Ooh, that's interesting. I just learned something. I can't remember who talks about this because someone just told me, but they were saying that this is more about like discipline for kids or consequences for kids, but they were talking about event, response, outcome. And she was saying that if you separate those at all by time, you then disable the child. Because if the event was yesterday, the response is today and the outcome's tomorrow, because that's not now, they've forgotten about the event. That's not now anymore. So now they're dealing with an issue that they can't even connect to anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious with you when you shoot something, if that event response outcome is better for you to do it quickly. Because if you separate that by a week or a week and a half, you've lost that motivation, you've lost that interest.
Yeah. I know I have to do it quickly.
Right.
But sometimes I can't because like there's just other projects that have more priority than the current one. So I work on that and then that gap. And then there's that gap.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the one that wasn't priority and I'm like, not interested in this anymore.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
So frustrating. And sometimes I can grind it out.
Can you resparkleize it at all?
Usually once I can get over that initial hump of just diving in, once I dive back into it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is so cool. I forgot. Then I can do it. But it's like, it's actually just like opening it up, going through it again.
Getting started.
It's like rereading a book you already read.
Okay. That's interesting because part of executive functioning is activating, getting started, right? Which is the hardest part. But once we get started, we get that momentum, we get that mojo, and we're back. So again, something my coach told me was almost this breadcrumb strategy that could work for you. And again, this was about working memory, right? When you get in the zone and you're ready to work, he's saying that, if you imagine like a sticky note and it has all the steps, you've got the motivation, you know what the next steps are, you know what you're doing, you're set, you're good to go. But if someone distracts you, a kid comes into the room, or your priorities shift, instead of that sticky note, being crumbled and thrown away, for us, it's shattered. It's gone. So we've lost everything. We've lost all that motivation. We've lost all that momentum. We've lost the steps that we were doing. So we don't know where to start. We don't know where to look again.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about something called the breadcrumb strategy. If someone knocks on the door and before you say, yeah, I can help, and then never come back to what you were doing, you say just 1 second and you write down, what was I doing? What was the next step? And what was the goal? And if you think about that, you come back because, if you leave, you come back and you're like, God, where was I? And think about that, a piece of candy again. You go, oh yeah, what was the next step? Oh yeah, this was the next step. What was the goal? Oh yeah, this. And you're picking up the breads and then you find that big goal and you're like, oh yeah, you're starting from 10 or 15% instead of 0. Right?
I like that.
Because you have some steps now, you know where to start. You're not starting from 0 and going, fuck, where do I start? What was I doing again? You have that written down. Oh. And so you come back and you're like, ooh, oh yeah. And you can get into the motivation, the momentum faster.
So when I'm done here and I leave to go play Ultimate Frisbee, I'm going to write down, okay, have to put podcasts together. I guess the goal would be to complete it and put it out. What was the middle step? So it's like...
what was I doing?
What was I doing, right?
What was the next step?
And then the goal.
What's the end goal? But you can really do it for whatever you need and break it down as much as you need. Because again, if you think about the now versus not now, every morning I sit down and I write in my journal things I need to do. I don't call it a to-do list. I don't know why. I say things I need to do. And instead of writing something basic like write emails, I have to write down every single email that I need to respond to, because that feels less overwhelming to me. If I say write emails, that's huge.
Yeah.
And the now versus not now, I need to respond to all those emails immediately. That's overwhelming. And then I push it away and I don't do it. But if I write down, the other day, actually, because I'm working with an illustrator currently, I said, respond to her. And then I wrote down under it every email I needed to respond to her, right? Because I could do 2 and then, go do something else, but come back and still have that. I don't forget that. So if you're doing this, you could be like, upload podcast, save it, whatever, however broken down you need it for how your brain works.
See, I get a lot of stress relief. I'll spend like an hour and just going through all tasks essentially. And then my wife will be like, well, what? Instead of spending an hour writing all that down, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like I need to process the things that need to be done. Yeah. I can't just do it because I'll do the wrong thing, or I'll prioritize something that's not a priority and I'll just do that.
You need like the roadmap.
I need the roadmap.
Otherwise you're going to just stumble.
Yeah. But I need to spend an hour to figure out where am I going?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But to her, it's just, she's not like that. So she's like, I don't understand.
And you can see why she's like, you're adding an extra hour.
You're adding an extra hour, yeah.
When in reality, you're actually probably decreasing your time, because then you know what steps you need to do.
Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right?
Yeah.
I printed something off for my office because I've been realizing lately that I'll forget to put my lunch in the fridge. I'll forget to plug my phone in or plug my laptop in, or don't have my water bottle, or I don't have my things to do book on the table. And then halfway through the day, I feel really out of it and I haven't done anything because I'm not set up. So I have, can you go down one slide? I think it's just, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's this Get Ready to Do Done by Sarah Ward and Christine Jacobson. And I took it from that kid, right? I have a physical one but I took a picture of what my desk looks like when it's ready, when I'm ready for work. So I have my laptop out there, I have my book and my pen ready, I've got my water bottle full, everything's plugged in, and I say like, what do I need to do? So I write down there, put my lunch away, put my laptop here, plug it in, put my phone on the charger, and then what do I need to do to get ready? Take my laptop out of the bag, put my laptop bag back into my backpack because then it will be strewn out in my office. And so now I have it on my wall and I don't need to think about it. I don't have to remember it. And honestly, again, I don't even read it. I just see it and I'm like, oh yeah. And it just, it comes flooding to me and I do it. And so that took like, half an hour to an hour to do, but it sped up my process in the morning now. Because I don't get to lunch and be like, oh my God, my lunch is spoiled, or I haven't had water all day, or my computer's about to die halfway through a session and I have to plug it in.
My brain is turning right now.
Why?
I'm just like, I wonder if I should do this. What would I put on it? Where would I put it?
Yeah, I'm very excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a good day for me, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to use all this stuff.
It's going to be so productive.
Oh, the most productive.
Right? But if we're not aware of how our brain works, and if we haven't been shown or taught any of this, right?
Yeah.
We live in this neurotypical world. And so we get frustrated because we aren't aware of these strategies.
And they seem so simple to people who don't understand. But people like you and us three, it's like, that can be a struggle. For other people, it's like, well, obviously you do this, do this, do this, do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no. it's
the depth and complexity. And it's a lot harder than people realize. They don't see it, right? They don't see it on the outside. What it looks like is being disorganized or lack of effort, lack of emotion, motivation. When inside, we're like, why can't the fuck I do this? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And you get frustrated and you beat yourself up. And I struggle with anxiety and depression as well. So like it is just a real mess inside.
Yeah.
And these things really, really help.
Well, anxiety, those things often pair with ADHD.
Yeah. Unfortunately, big time.
Yeah.
Well, and if you go up, sorry, Drew.
This is awesome. Please.
Yeah, right there.
We can just go through the whole thing.
Yeah, well, let's just do a presentation. I'm sorry about the words in front there, but the back there is called A Year in Pixels. And you can see I used it for 2023 and I only got about halfway, not even. I got to the end of February and then my depression took over and I couldn't do it. But this helps me with it's a mood tracker, right? So every day, at the end of the day, I draw color in there.
Oh, I like this.
Right? Because we struggle in the now and not now, when I feel sad, I feel like I've been sad forever. And I feel like I've been sad for so many days and I feel like I'm going to be sad forever because that's what I feel in the now.
Yeah.
And my past, present, and future is in this moment. And so I think I'm going to be sad forever. And so when I have a sad day, I can look, like if you look at January 15th, I had a frustrating start to the day. Oh no, that's a bad.
Frustrated.
That's a bad example.
Double sad.
Yeah, double sad. But you can see, right, just before my angry and sad day, I had a really good day. I had a happy day. And so I can look at that and be like, okay, I wasn't this sad yesterday, so it's not going to be forever. I haven't been sad forever.
Yeah.
Right? I had a string of good days and then a tired day and another good day. And that helps me get out of this feeling of now. Right? And a lot of this can relate to why our little trigger warning, we'll talk about suicide here, why the suicide rate with people with ADHD is higher. Because we feel the now, I'm going to feel like this forever. And I can't escape that. Right?
Yeah. I've felt that before.
Yeah. I'm going to be sad forever.
Yeah.
Because I'm not attached to my future self. It's hard for me to see, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get by it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm feeling now. And this is what I'm going to feel like for the rest of my life.
Dang. I go through something similar you do. I don't know if it's like a winter thing, but I get this like anxiety thing probably around every February. Also my birthday. So it was a hard one. It was like I was turning 30 and I always get this like, what am I doing with my life? You know?
Oh yeah.
But then people remind me like, hey, like you have a podcast, you have a clothing brand, you're doing well. And it's just like, it's hard to see it sometimes. Yeah. And you're just kind of in the now.
This is kind of embarrassing. I tell so many embarrassing stories about myself. That's what I do. When I first met my now wife, she came into my bedroom at my parents' house and it looked like a child's room. My wall was plastered literally inch to inch with things that I've done, camps that I've run, camps that I've been a part of. I had a star from when I was 8 years old from Camp Read a Lot because I didn't like to read, and it said Aaron did an Oakley Dokley science experiment today. and just all over my wall at 23.
Yeah.
And she must have been like, who is this joker? But I realized I need those reminders of positives in my life.
Yeah, progression.
Right?
Yeah.
I need to, and I'm working on like an affirmation board right now, and just I guess what ADCA calls a rainbow list to show all the positives I've done in my life, so that when I'm feeling down, I can look at it and be like, damn, look, I've graduated college. I went to Australia and did university. I now run my own business, which is still a mind effort to me. I lived in the Yukon for 7 years. I can have these positive reminders that help bring me out of this sense of not guilt, but just terribleness that my life is awful and I've done nothing.
Yeah.
Because I struggle with that all the time.
Yeah.
I
think that's why I like photography a lot. I can just hang it up and it's like, oh yeah, I went here, or I did this with these people. Right. That kind of thing.
And it helps bring those emotions back.
Yeah.
Right? And helps get us out of that feeling of dread and that I'm going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it really does feel like the last 10 years went by really fast. And then I was thinking about the other day, like, oh man, like I did this and this year, and I did this and I did that. I'm like, holy shit, I've done a lot. But if you don't sit down and think about it, but I like something like a visual. I like that.
Well, and this is the thing. Unfortunately, with people with ADHD, often we focus on the negative.
Yeah.
Right? And we need to bring attention to the positives in our lives. And again, one of my coaches told me why it can be so hard for people with ADHD to try new things, and why it often feels like life or death, is because our memory is associated with our failures and negativity. We don't focus on our positives or our successes. So our memory is based in negativity. So when we try something new, all our memories, all the times we failed. And then we project that to all the things we're going to try. So like me coming on a podcast, all the failures I've had in my life, which are a ton, come up in the now.
Interesting.
Like you're going to fail this and it's going to be
it's going to be
the worst. And you're going to remember it forever.
Absolutely. I'm going to be terrible. You guys are going to find out I know nothing about ADHD. I'm going to be a fraud. Like, this is what I was dealing with this morning.
Yeah, right? I think we were talking about it. Like, hey, if you want to chat on the phone, just kind of
to ease my anxiety. And just even you offering that helped reduce it. But
nice.
But I have to be like, this is good. It will be great. Hopefully it's great. But yeah, I'm consciously trying to focus on the positives in my life, so that when I do new things, my memory's not based in negativity. It's based in some of my successes. See, I even have a problem saying that I have successes. It feels uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if I've maybe outgrown that, but I get excited about new things. And I don't know if it's like maybe that dopamine hit.
Maybe.
But it's new.
Yep.
So if there's something new I haven't done, even if I'm scared to do it, I'm like, it's new. I gotta try it.
Yeah.
Food, any wacky food, wacky drinks, like new sports, anything. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably suck, but I'll get over that suckiness. Everyone sucks the first time.
Oh my God, teach me that.
I feel like I'm right in the middle because I get very excited about things, but I also have a pit in my stomach being like, fuck. Like if I fuck this up, fuck. Like that's the whole podcast thing. I'm like, I'm so excited to do this, but also, holy shit.
Yeah.
Everyone sucks. Our first few podcasts, we had so many problems. Our cameras were timing out.
We
had so many issues, but that's why I was like, we could spend another month trying to perfect things and just never launch it. Or we just launch now. The first 10 will be a little, not as good as the 20 or the 30th one, but it's fine.
Yeah.
There's growing pains.
Yeah, absolutely.
With everything. So I just try to tell myself that, and then I just focus on the excitement of new thing.
Yeah. Well, I was told too. Apparently, like anxiety and excitement are the same feelings. It's the only difference is perception.
Oh, I know. So I did read this article once where they train. I think they were talking about NHL players and how they get nervous before a game. They get antsy, and because they have coaches and stuff that work with mentality and how to talk to the press, and and now you're a figure that everybody knows. I just had to deal with it. And one of them, they were just teaching them like, hey, so when you're feeling that anxious before that game, just tell yourself, no, this is excitement. You're excited to play the game. You're not anxious. It's excitement. So it's like they're trying to trick themselves.
Interesting. I'll have to try that.
Yeah. I don't remember where I read it. It was a sports article, and it was written by like this, I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
Some kind of coach for the players. Yeah. And he was just teaching them to just kind of change the perception. I guess.
And that makes sense too, right? Like it's the same feeling.
Same feeling.
It's
Yeah.
just how we,
yeah.
it's just how we see it.
Yeah. You're not nervous. You're excited.
Yeah.
You're excited.
And I was excited to come here because I looked you guys up and I saw all the fun stuff you were doing. I was nervous for the drink because I'm a lightweight and didn't want to get a little bit tipsy.
I didn't. I only put a little bit in there, so
But that's good. But yeah, maybe I need to start. You're not nervous. You're excited.
you're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And change. I mean, Drew, I'm going to make you work one more time.
Yeah, no,
I don't even know
please.
what time. I don't know. If you go up, you're going to have to go up a bunch. Yeah. Keep going. Right here.
Reticular activating system.
Yeah. So this is one part of our brain. So ADHD affects 4 main areas of the brain with the lack of dopamine, and the reticular activating system, or the RAS, is one of them. And it's known as the gatekeeper, right? So it lets the strongest impulse through, and it doesn't choose if that impulse is positive or negative. It lets the strongest impulse, most repetitive thoughts through. So like we just bought a red van. So if you're thinking, red van, I need to research it. Then all of a sudden you start seeing more red vans around. You're like, what's going on? Are people buying red vans all of a sudden? No, you've just brought attention to it. That's the strongest impulse going through your brain, right? And so with people with ADHD, unfortunately, our perspective is generally through the negative because we've been told, just sit down, just listen, try harder, what's going on. And so my coach has this saying, we don't experience the world as it is, we experience the world of our thinking. And he goes on to say, and this gets me every time, so most of the things that happen to us are charge neutral. The charge comes from how we think about it. We think we believe what we see, when in actuality, it's we see what we believe. We think that we go through the world, gather evidence, then create a belief. More often than not, it's we have a belief, we interpret the world through that lens, and this is important, and ignore evidence to the contrary to prove ourselves right. Most of what we experience is made up or interpreted through our lens.
Just like the 4-hour make your bed thing.
Yeah.
But
That's how he perceives it. That's how he sees it. Right? And for me, I'm trying to work on this because my perspective or my glasses is I'm a piece of shit. I know nothing about ADHD. I've fooled you all. I'm a terrible person. That's the perspective I see through life. And so if you can tell me a compliment, but I say, oh, they're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying because I'm ignoring the evidence to prove myself right. And what's starting to happen with me, which is super uncomfortable, is that the outside world's evidence is overwhelming to what my internal story is saying. So something isn't matching up.
Yes.
And what's not matching up is the terrible story I'm telling myself. And so I'm trying to really work through changing my perspective of life.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where sometimes trying something new comes from too. That's the lens we're seeing. Right? And so something that I just saw actually on Reddit, I don't know how, I don't know where this came from, but it was wonderful, is a strategy of, this can go for for couples or kids or relationships, whatever. But, when I said this, what did you hear?
Yeah. How did you interpret it?
Yeah. Because often, we're really sensitive to rejection and criticism as well. So like sometimes my wife will be like, oh, Aaron, you forgot your laundry. Like you forgot to put your laundry away. What I hear is, you fucking idiot. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you put this away? I'm going to leave you. You're the worst. And so I react to that.
Yeah.
And she's like, what just happened here? Right. But, so you could say, okay, so when I said you forgot your laundry, what did you hear? I heard I'm the worst and that you're really upset with me. And then they have that opportunity to be like, that's not what I said. It happened the other day where I had the vehicle all day, which generally doesn't happen. And I forgot that we needed groceries. And so I had to go out that night, which I was bummed about because I was tired. And I said, oh, I really wish I did this during the day. And my wife got mad at me for a hot second. And she said, what I just heard is that why didn't you remind me, Becky? That's what she heard. Oh. She thought I was getting mad at her for saying you didn't remind me to go get groceries. And so we use that technique. I was like, that's not what I meant at all. I'm just expressing my frustration that I wish I remembered.
To yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how she interpreted it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's crazy. So what lens are we seeing through life, and what are we actually reacting to? Are we reacting to what people are saying, or are we reacting to what we're hearing?
Yeah.
Or perceiving?
Yeah. I had the same thing just the other day. Summer was like, hey, like, can you clean up your camera gear? Like, it's on the counter. And right away, I'm just like, fuck, like, yeah, sure. I leave everything's always messy. It's all my fault. Like,
yep.
You hate all my stuff. You want me to throw it out?
Yeah.
It's like, no, she just wanted me to move my stuff off the kitchen table.
Yeah. And if we react to that too, it looks really out of line with just, hey, I told you to put your stuff away, and you're like, fine. Like, what's your problem?
I was like, fuck. Like,
you know,
I
where
get
it's
it.
like, yeah, and she's like, what happened there? Like,
Yeah.
why'd you react like that? And then if you have that ability to be like, what I heard was you're mad at me and you hate me.
Yeah.
And you're going to leave me. You can
Yeah.
be like, well, no, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
And imagine if kids, this is the thing too, a lot of people don't have this vocabulary. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I was just working with a kid the other day who is struggling to use his online Google Calendar. And the mom was getting pretty frustrated, especially because he's going off to university by himself. And through coaching, we figured out in his mind, looking through his Google Calendar involved him checking his Gmail, checking his class list to make sure all of his assignments were on there and good to go. And that felt overwhelming. And so he didn't use it, but he wasn't aware of that. So we talked about, what could checking your Google Calendar look like? Especially for like, doctor's appointment, just put it in. So this half an hour task that he thought it would take takes 15 seconds. When you're like, I just have to go to my calendar and be like, June 15th, doctor's appointment.
Time blindness.
Right? Time blindness, or the now versus not now. I have to do it all now. And so I sent the email to the parents saying like, we talked about this came up. And they said, he doesn't tell me this. Like, he doesn't tell me this is why he's not using his Google Calendar. And I had to send an email back saying, part of coaching or part of ADHD is we don't know why we're acting the way that we do. The kid had no clue that he was associating checking his Gmail and his class assignment list involved in his Google Calendar. He had no clue, right? He had no clue that that's why he's refusing to use it, because it felt like it was going to take a really long time.
I live by that thing. Now,
Yeah.
it's a tool in my belt, because if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist.
Oh, for sure.
So it's like, even if friends are like, I know my cousin's coming over tomorrow. It's been in my calendar for a week.
Yeah.
Which may seem weird to people, but it's like, I need to put it in there, because if it's not there, I'm going to open my calendar and be like, open date. Great. I'm going to do this. And then my cousin texts me, hey, on my way. I'm like, oh shit. Book the podcast.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have to live by it. It's like, yeah.
Absolutely. It's the same with me. My wife will often be like, what's your work schedule like tomorrow? I never know, because that's not now. I have to open my calendar and be like, I have 5 clients tomorrow. Like, holy crap. Because I can't hold in that information. I won't remember it. So I always have to have things on my calendar. And if it's not there, I won't do it.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And even my list on things to do, I feel really bad saying this, but one of my best friends now lives in Australia, and he messages me all the time. He's super good at it, and I'm a terrible communicator. And he knows that, and it's not that I don't, respect him or appreciate him or love him even. I'll see it, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and then I look somewhere else and it's gone. And so I don't respond for like 2 weeks or months. And he knows that now. He's really good about it. So I often in my things to do will say like, respond to my friend, or like text this person.
Yeah.
Because I need it in my list.
Yeah.
Because I will forget otherwise. And this is, I was teaching a course through the Canadian ADD, can't remember, CADAC, I can't remember what it's called. But kids were talking about the challenge with advocating for yourself and being a self-advocate and telling people you have ADHD and what that might entail. I said, from my perspective, if people don't know I have ADHD, I can come off as a dick. I interrupt all the time. I will zone out of conversation. I'll forget what you just said, and I'm a terrible responder. And it's not that I'm being rude. It's literally because I either feel like I don't have the time to respond to you right now, so I put it down, and then 3 weeks has gone by, and I've completely forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And so I tell everybody I have ADHD because I feel like it explains me a lot better. And with friendships, right? Like
I struggle, because sometimes I'll use that, and then people who don't have it or don't know it's not in their family, and they don't understand it. They're just like, it's an excuse or something like that. And a lot of my friends make fun of me all the time for forgetting things or being late. And it's like, I get picked, and I don't mind. It's a little bit of banter.
Right.
We pick on each other for different things, but it's like, I get picked on all the time for forgetting things and being late, and people call it like Drew time or things like that. You're always on Drew time. I'm like, look, it's not like I'm not being malicious. It's just like it's something I struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
just and say to like, imagine forgetting this stuff all the time. How do you think that would feel? It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
Right? Put it back on them and be like, how would you feel if you forgot your baseball jersey all the time? Or you forgot these things? They'd be like, yeah, that would actually be super frustrating. Be like, yeah, welcome to my life.
Yeah. Or they'd be like, write it down. I'm like, I did.
Yeah, I do. I write things down and I still forget.
Yeah. They're on the wall.
Yeah. Do you know what's... We live just by a grocery store, right? And the other day, my wife's like, "Oh, can you go get like this really short list of groceries, right?" And she's really good with me. She's like, "Will you remember?" And generally, I always say, "Yeah, I'll remember," and I never do. The other day, I went into the grocery store and I was remembering it. I had it down pat. I got into the aisle, gone. I saw someone or something that reminded me of something 17 years ago, and I was gone. And I said out loud, I said, "Crap, what was I here for?" And I literally was about to call her. I was like, no, I can't call her because she told me to write it down. And so I just walked the aisle for a bit until I was like, mouthwash. That's what I'm here for. And I was like, mouthwash. And then it all came out. And I was like, toothpaste. And I think probably chocolate or something. But it all hit me in that moment. I was like, thank God. But I need to write things down because I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
And it's not like we need to remove that shame and guilt. Be like, it's not my fault that I forget.
Yeah.
It's how my brain works and how my brain's designed.
I'm going to show you, well, my phone's on the Cooper Cam, but I'll show you my list and how insane. Do you have like tons of categories or is that just me?
I should categorize it. That's a really good idea.
It overwhelms my wife, but like I have a shopping one, I have a to-do, I have a put off for later. I have a podcast one, I have the folk one. It's endless.
I'm not really good with lists on my phone.
Okay.
I'm like a Luddite. I need to write stuff down, but I do reminders.
Okay.
You know, like if I need to do the laundry, I'll talk to Siri and be like, hey, set a reminder at 5:30, do laundry, because then I go home and the alarm goes off. I'm like, what was that for? Yeah. And I check, I'm like, oh yeah, do laundry.
Yeah.
But I don't have an extensive list. I'm a bit ashamed to say my wife takes on the majority of that.
I don't know if it's good. I also have like a mind dump. Sometimes I just need to spew what's in my head on, and then I may not look at it for a month. It's just, I just had to write it down.
You're creating space.
You're
getting it out of there.
Yeah. I have a mind dump notes. And there's like, I date them. Have I read them? Have I gone back and read most of them? No. But I just like have to spew it.
Oh my God. You need to get on, there's, what's this guy's name? I think it's ADHD Chatter podcast or Alex something. And he had a video. He's like, I have ADHD. And that means I make to-do lists and never look at them ever again.
That's
I'm
like,
me.
That's me.
I was like, that's pretty spot on.
I use this system called Notion. And it's just essentially like a glorified Excel program. And that's how I keep track of all my tasks. But I have to take it from the main database and actually write it on a sticky note and then put that on my desk. And that's what I'll do for the day.
See, that's too, for me, that's too many steps. I can't do that.
Well, it's because like I can't write 100 sticky notes. So all the stuff that needs to be done needs to be somewhere.
Right.
So software makes the most sense, not a physical thing. And then for today, if I have these 10 things to do, then I'll take and then write them down. And that's what I'm doing today. This is how my brain works.
And this is the beauty of ADHD, right? Everything's going to be different for everyone. Like for me, that's too overwhelming. Having the list and then doing something else and then writing it down, that's too many steps for me. And I'd be like, I often consider my ADHD lazy in a sense, where I'm like, if there's a barrier or too many things to do, I'm not doing it. I need to make it as simple as I can. And but for you have this brain.
I think the sticky note is me simplifying it.
Okay.
I'm just breaking these 100 tasks down into 10 tasks on a sticky note. Yeah. So that way I don't get overwhelmed by the 100. Yeah. And then that software's gone for the day. I don't care. I've already looked at what I need to do.
Okay.
And then it's just the sticky note.
Making lists alone for me is a bit much. Like I've done it maybe like 5 times. And it'll be like a very like, garbage piece of paper is right here. There's a pencil. It's the night before. Okay, this is what I have to do in the morning. And I put it down. I'm like, now it's on the table. I'll wake up, see it.
I do know there's like a tactic of writing things the night before. So then you wake up and it's like before you go to bed, what do you need to do tomorrow? Write it down, go to bed. Wake up, it's there.
But a lot of times I'm just like, fuck, like I'll just remember. I don't want to write it.
and do you remember?
No, never. Never.
You're walking the plank with that sentence.
I need to get better at lists.
Well, and that's like almost, if it was something that was the same thing every day, that's where that get ready, do done could come in, right? So you don't have to think about it. Right? Or like having all that coffee stuff around, you don't have to think. You have it everywhere. You don't have to be like, where are the coffee filters? Oh yeah, they're over here. Everything's right there. Yeah. So it's you're taking that cognitive load off your mind.
I think that's why I'll do things right away, put it by the door. So the door I have to move it out of the way to exit the door.
Yeah.
So I can't forget it.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
My wife and I just had a tick scare with our 2-year-olds, right? Because, we're in the Yukon for 7 years. We could deal with bears, no problem, but ticks are all new to us. So now we have a sticky note. It's on our door, but now that's summer, we need to change it because the door is often open. But it says tick spray for our kids because our kid goes to forest school, right? And so we have that as a reminder because my wife and I forget constantly, right? You get the kids out, it's like 8:25, they're about to leave, and then 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, I forgot to spray them down. But now we have a sticky note that says tick spray right by the door, right? As reminders. Because we need these prompts because life gets crazy. And there's no shame in needing these reminders. And the struggle I have with kids is that they don't want to use them because they don't want to look different. They don't want to look weird. And I'm telling them, I'm like, fuck that. I am the weirdest non-cool person you'll ever meet.
I understand as a kid, you're trying to fit in and you're very
totally.
socially conscious. I probably not until I hit, I don't know, 24, 25 was where it's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I don't care. Obviously, I care what people think, but I don't focus on it as much anymore.
I mean, I was teased and bullied relentlessly in high school, and I think so. I got to that a little bit earlier where I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take the time out of your day to try and make my day worse, that's a waste.
on you.
Yeah, that's a waste of your energy. I'm gonna enjoy my time singing Bohemian Rhapsody in the corner of the hallway. You know, that's
Yeah. And I did have some anxiety around the podcast, like our differing opinions, and are they going to comment and are they going to shit on me online? And it's just like, well, I don't really care. Why am I doing it? Just to connect with other people and have conversations. And things.
Absolutely. And letting that go and just being yourself is so freeing and lovely.
Yeah. It is terrifying to be yourself and put it on the internet, though.
Yes.
Especially on a per episode basis, because I'm on every episode. So is Drew.
Social media has not been I got an Instagram account. I barely use it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not good social media wise. And I think it's because of that, right? I'm scared of saying something wrong or getting,
Putting
facts.
yourself out there.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But I can get up in front of, hundreds of people and talk about my mental health challenges and ADHD struggles, no problem.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a bit.
And I have opinions, but I never mean any ill will towards any particular group or anything like that.
Yeah.
My fear was just saying something politically incorrect, like the wrong term or the wrong word. And people will attack you for it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, whoa, sorry, like not intentional.
Yeah.
Just is what it is.
Yeah, it's hard to be authentic and to be yourself, but it's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Be my ADHD self.
I just saw, again, I think this was the ADHD Chatter podcast guy, Alex. He was talking about, again, specifically women, and just said because of the societal view on women that they, have to look and act a certain way, they get really good at masking, and they actually kind of lose their identity of who they actually are because they've been acting and mirroring other people's behaviors. They don't know who they are anymore. I just said, oh, shit, that's heavy.
Whoa.
Right?
It's almost. Did you see the new Marilyn Monroe movie with, she's Cuban. She was in, I'm blanking on her name. Anyways, you didn't see the movie, the Marilyn Monroe?
No.
So this concept was almost she like separated herself from Marilyn Monroe because that's a stage name.
Right.
It's not a real name.
Right.
So it's like she would do something out of character, and she's like, why is Marilyn Monroe doing this? Almost like in third person.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of reminded me of that a little
Distancing
bit.
herself.
It's an interesting movie. You should watch it.
Yeah.
It's pretty out there, but and she would almost like talk about Marilyn Monroe as like being this character that's like controlling her a little bit. Whew. Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah. Was she actually like that? I don't know. Could have been like a stylistic choice.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, masking yourself or distancing yourself that much from who you truly are. To match or mirror what you think people want and what, trying to be.
Well, there's like what's that concept? The 4 faces. There's you when you're around people, just random people. There's you when you're around your friends. There's you when you're around your closest, so like your spouse. And then there's you when there's just you. And there's like 4 faces of you.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I don't know whose concept that is, but I didn't read about that.
I feel like there's only one me. I can only.
That's awesome.
I can only.
So you're very
like,
authentic.
I can't be anything else.
Yeah.
I can't.
That sounds nice. I feel like I got 4 faces for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
feel like I gotta regulate who I am.
A filter.
On who I'm with.
I see. Even like some days, I have a 2-year-old who doesn't sleep, so some days I'll come into work, I'm just off, right? And people are like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm struggling." right? I can't be anything.
You know what
else.
concept I learned? I don't know if this was from a therapist but it was like with your spouse or whoever, it's like you let them know what percentage you're at. So you're like, hey, just so you know,
Yeah.
I'm at 20%.
Yeah.
What are you at? I'm at 60. Great. Since you're at 20%, I'll do all the dishes today because I'm a little bit more
Yeah.
and you just take a break.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the reverse. Sometimes I'm at 10%. I'm like, look, I just can't right now.
Yeah.
And it's good just to like communicate that.
Oh yeah, we've done that too, right? When I'm having I'm like, I'm at 5%.
Yeah.
And she's like, great, I'm at 95.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll do
no
it all.
problem.
No
You
worries.
Lie down, but just be here, and that's it. Yeah. I mean, that's a really nice thing to see. And maybe I'm not truly like when I struggle with depression, I have a hard time admitting that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I mask a little bit because I think I wear my emotions on my sleeve, right? And it's hard for me to.
Well, I think
hide
personally, sometimes I just don't want to put those emotions on somebody else. If I'm feeling anxious or frustrated or sad, it's just like, and they had a great day.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to put that on you.
Yeah.
Or, so
Yeah.
I think you just maybe naturally mask it.
Yeah.
You had a bad day. You had a great day. Let me bring it down a peg.
Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But sometimes they're like, hey, that's okay. Like, it's all good.
Yeah,
You need to
absolutely.
just-
Well, it's okay to struggle too, right? We have this facade that you can't, that life is supposed to be easy and we're supposed to be happy dandy all the time.
Well, on social media, it's like you're only really seeing the best aspects of people's lives because that's all they're going to post.
Yeah.
I've seen some accounts where they just post shitty things that happen to them, and it's like they're just being more real.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm going to post my best photography, right?
Yeah, of
I'm not
course.
going to post my shitty photos.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for everybody.
Yeah.
They're only going to post like the best parts of their life. And then then you're thinking, oh, wow, their life's much better than mine.
Yeah. There's some parent people we follow and they're like, here's a video of my house currently. And it's just a disaster. I'm like, oh, thank God. Because it's like a tornado just hits our house sometimes. And you see that and you're like, oh, that's a bit more real. Like that makes me feel less guilty.
Or my friend has 4 kids and I'll go over and they'll be like, I'm so sorry, the house is messy. I'm like, my house is messier than yours right now. And I don't have 4 kids.
Yeah.
So like, please do not apologize. Like
Yeah.
I'm not bothered by it.
I posted a picture one time of, I still to this day don't know what happened, of my 4-piece plastic measuring cups. I've lost one, 2 are half melted, and 1 is broken. I'm like, I don't like, and I just wrote like, how does ADHD affect you in the kitchen? I'm like, look at this. Like, I don't even know where that one went. And I put them on hot elements they're cooling, but I've melted them.
I've never felt so much belonging in one room before than right now.
Yeah.
I feel so normal.
You do that too?
It's so relieving. My life is like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hot mess sometimes.
Or I bought a pair of new glasses, pair of new sunglasses.
Oh.
I lost the case to one, so I was using the glasses with the sunglasses case, and then I ended up finding the sunglasses case in a door in a car.
Yep.
And I started using that, and then I lost the other one.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, whatever.
Yep.
My glasses have scratches on them because I don't have the case.
Yeah.
It's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It makes life just a titch more exciting.
Yeah, and I used to get really frustrated with it.
Yeah.
And now, not until like I hit my mid-20s, I laugh at it more than get frustrated at it.
Yeah.
Before I get angry, I'm like, why am I like this?
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, that was funny.
And how wonderful,
How wonderful.
right? Yeah.
I think maybe 5 years ago, if I forgot that baseball jersey, I would be embarrassed and angry.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, that's kind of funny. Guess I have to wear this cardigan.
Yeah.
I'm just batting with a cardigan on. I'm like, whatever.
Killing it.
Yeah.
And how wonderful for you to say, like, you've never felt more belonging or more normal in this room, right? Because a lot of people don't get that and are looking for that. And when I have clients, who range from 60 to 12, and they've all said it's just nice to talk to someone who gets it, someone who you can relate to.
Who struggles with the same things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have people all the time saying, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Absolutely it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're used to being around neurotypicals and they're like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why are you running back and forth and forgetting the same thing multiple times?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the worst.
Yeah. And it's like, I love talking to people with ADHD because the conversations are ridiculous, right? You just ping pong from so many things, but I follow along. Because I'm like, oh, you said this word that made you think of this memory, and then that memory brought you here. Yeah, I follow that.
Yeah.
And with other people, they're like, how the hell did you get to the end point? I'm like, oh, you didn't follow the random thought processes I had? Like,
Yeah.
come on. But I'm with you. I'm with you all the way.
my one friend I just feed off of, and he's like, has the trifecta.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But like if him and me go off on our own, or like, oh, we're just gonna go and have a beer at a or if we're at a wedding, we have a beer over here.
Yeah.
Hour goes by, and people are like, where are Drew and Josh? And we're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Just feeding off each other.
Yeah.
Just talking about probably 1,000 topics in 60 minutes. Like,
Yep. You know, I remember one of my first courses at this ADHD school. We were talking about the positives of hyperactivity and impulsivity, because it's always focused on the negatives. And, you know, like impulsive people can be super romantic, you know, super adventurous. You know, hyperactive people can be super fun and, again, adventurous and entertaining.
Yeah.
Right? Inattentives can be super creative.
That's my strong suit.
Right?
Yeah.
And come up with these really cool stories or graphics or whatnot. There's so many positives about certain aspects of ADHD, but we only look at the struggles.
The negative, yeah.
Right? Which is super unfortunate. And if you can embrace, you know, like part of my impulsivity I call is my impulsive courage, because I will email organizations to do presentations or to get like a grant or something like that. And then once I hit that send button, I go, holy shit, what did I just do? And then my anxiety kicks in. But in that moment, I was impulsive. And I was like, fuck it, let's do this. And I email them, and it's either a no or a yes. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I just got a grant. So like, that's amazing. But I still have anxiety about it. But I call that my impulsive courage. And I've gotten so many presentations from this.
That's awesome.
Because I'm just like, whatever, like, let's do it. But immediately once I send it, I'm like, whew, I shouldn't have done that. Or like, I'm nervous now for what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And generally, it's really positive.
Yeah. I felt like that about the podcast. I'm just like, Drew, I'm doing it. I just bought everything. Furniture's in here.
Yeah.
I remember being like,
first
whoa,
guest come in, I'm
yeah.
like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
This is, people are going to hate it. It's going to be a terrible episode. Like,
yeah. I think too, I don't want to bring it down or anything, but I think it's so important to talk about, because you can almost, there is this sense of toxic positivity with ADHD, right? Like, yeah, some people consider it a superpower, and there can be some really good strengths with it, but there are people with ADHD who are really struggling, right? Like people, like, you know, our rates of unemployment are higher. Our rates of obesity are higher. Homelessness is higher. There are people there struggling because they don't have the environment or the support that others have. And so as much as there are strengths and beautiful aspects about ADHD, there are people in seriously challenging situations, right? Like that. This presentation here was about criminal behavior, and that our rates of being incarcerated are much higher than neurotypicals. Alcohol and addiction rates are much higher, right? For a multitude of reasons. If you're feeling that intense emotion and you don't know how to deal with it, drink.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Right? I really like cannabis, and so I use cannabis, but I know that I have an addictive personality, and I have to be very, very careful about it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I like playing video games, but I shouldn't play them because I get sucked in, because it's immediate dopamine, and it's the fastest way to get it, right? And so I don't mean to put a damper on, because, you know, certain people can use ADHD as strengths, but it's super, super important to highlight the significant challenges that come along with it, right? Whether you're medicated or not medicated, and if the medication's helping or not, if you don't have the strategies or the awareness put in place to effectively deal with what's going on. You know, like when I was doing this presentation, someone said to me, they have clients who just crave meth. They just crave meth all the time. I know, right? She said this, and I was like, whoa, so many different worlds in this one world, right, that I'm just not aware of or used to. And she said when they start taking stimulants, they don't crave the meth anymore. But what happens is a week after they start abusing and going back on the drugs. And we had a really interesting conversation about, because I just started stimulants for the first time in over a decade. And it's forced me to like deal with my emotions instead of just ignoring them or putting them to the side. And so we talked about that. Like with those clients, they went on stimulants, but it probably made them aware of what's going on and the challenging situation that they're in. And like, this is too much. That's too intense for me to deal with. So I'm gonna ignore it. Yeah, I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna go back down a negative path and get away from this feeling. Right? Like I've said to my wife, sometimes when we feel emotions, because we feel it in the now, it's so intense. And I've said, I sometimes wish I could like spread the emotion out So I could feel it longer but less intense.
We love hard, but we feel sad really sad.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't have much of a temper. I don't outburst really. Very rarely. Very rarely. But like, yeah, even if my friend's sad, like I feel it so much. I just like I can feel their pain, and it just like it hurts.
Well, we're empaths almost to a negative, right? Where we feed off people's energy, like you and that buddy going to the bar. But if someone's sad, I feel that, and I feel like it's my duty to bring them up.
Yes,
right? I feel people's energy so much.
Or if someone's in a room and they're excluded from the group, like I feel obligated to talk to them or include them, or
absolutely,
if I'm a host, if people come over here, like I'm making sure there's food, I'm making sure people's drinks are full, like I'm checking in on people. Do you need anything? Like, I can't help myself.
Well, we're generally caring. I was just talking to somebody about this, and she disagreed with the theory, but the theory is that because generally we've been teased and bullied and showed so much disrespect, we want to outpour the opposite, and we take people in, and we care, and we want to make things better. She kind of disagreed with that, but I think personally that makes sense to me, right? But yeah, I feed off people's energy, and it's hard. It's exhausting. It's exhausting, right? Feeling like it might be your responsibility to help.
Yeah, people pleasing. And
Yeah. And that's draining, right? And we have to recharge.
No is a powerful tool sometimes that I don't think we use often.
Oh no, we're people pleasers.
Yeah.
Right? This is the most confusing thing too, right? Especially little kids. We never want to be the kid who is causing havoc or being bad in school. We want to do everything to please the teacher. Yeah. But because of our ADHD, we're the complete opposite of that. And so we're crushing this people pleasing aspect of ourselves because of the neurology of our brain. Mm-hmm. Right? Where we want to listen, but our brain's like, you got to stay active. Hey, there's a bird out there. How do birds fly? And then you're gone. You're gone.
Yeah. I know, it's like those high thoughts, but you're not high. You're just, you have these thoughts all the time.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. And there's Dr. William Dodson says, so there's a part of our brain called the basal ganglia. And part of it is
that.
Isn't that funny? It's ridiculous. It's such a funny word. But part of the basal ganglia is the corpus striatum. And one of its roles is to inhibit or stop internal and external information so that we can focus on the most important task at hand. But because we are deficient in dopamine, our brain doesn't inhibit that. So for example, if you're in a restaurant and you're having a conversation with somebody, a neurotypical person will turn down the volume of all the conversations around so I can focus on you. Someone with ADHD, because we can't inhibit that, everything has equal volume.
Oh, I'm listening to the chef yell at the waiter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm talking to you, but I also have an answer to the table next to us. I'm listening to this conversation and the somebody just broke a glass in the bar.
Yes.
But I'm also trying to concentrate on you. So you're in class, you see a bird fly by and you're like, oh, flying crazy. How do planes fly? How long have birds been here? Like, and then you're back to like the Wright brothers flying on a plane and 30 minutes has gone by.
Yes.
And you have no clue what's been said because you're back in 1901 looking at planes.
Yeah. Which is why you said cannabis earlier. I use it recreationally, but I find, at least for me, it turns all those dials down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can focus on what's at hand.
Yep.
But you also have to be careful because you could want to do that all the time.
Oh, I could use cannabis every day.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
But you can't.
No.
But it's dangerous because it does help. It turns all those dials down.
Yeah. I used it this weekend and I got like hyper focused on this course and I worked until 10:30. I was like, that's crazy.
It helps me.
Yeah.
It truly does.
Yeah.
But it's like, I know there's still a stigma about it.
Yeah.
Still.
But absolutely. But with ADHD, we're trying to shut the world down.
And I try to describe this to people. I'm like, it's just like it quiets all the voices in my head.
And so the corpus striatum not only inhibits external information, but internal as well. So your thoughts, I often describe like thoughts as almost physical. Like sometimes I'll get hit with a thought and it feels like, I'm like, oh my God, and now it's at the forefront. So not only does it inhibit external information, but our internal thoughts too. Like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you. You're having a conversation with someone and they say a word or a phrase that just reminds you of something that has nothing to do with this, but then all of a sudden you're like, I gotta tell them this story.
Yeah.
My buddy Ron Capalbo has a really funny TikTok, and it's about this. He's listening to someone talk about real estate or something, and you can see words over here, and it's like he's like, did I have breakfast? Yeah, I did. What did I have? A banana, and and then she just pipes up and she's like, do you want to hear a banana trick? And it has nothing to do with what's being said, but that's what his brain's saying, right?
Oh my God.
And it just kills me because it's so true.
Yes.
And so, you're standing there and it looks like you're listening and having a conversation, but you're having so many thoughts run through your head.
Yeah.
And again, Drew, I'm going to ask you to do one more thing.
No.
Go up a couple slides because I have, yeah, that one right here. So this is Dodson, and he's talking about,
Don't poke.
oh yeah, this is me. So he's behind here's a bunch of stuff, but he's talking about how impulsivity is the lack of inhibition of the expression of action or emotions, right? So we struggle with inhibiting our actions or emotions before thinking. So this don't poke. This is we were moving from Whitehorse, and my daughter stepped on the doorstop, so we had a big hole here from the doorknob hitting it. And I'm not handy at all, so I had to get a friend to, putty that. And I go downstairs. I know she had just done this. I knew. And I went there. Before I was even aware that I had the thought, hey, is this still wet? I poked it. I fucking knew it was wet. I had to. This is the thing. It doesn't feel like a choice. I had to do it.
Yeah. Oh,
and
look at that. Poker.
Yeah. Before, and this is the thing. The inhibition before the expression. I wasn't even aware I had the thought, hey, is this wet? Until I poked it. And immediately when I poked it and I did a huge finger dent in it, I said, what the fuck, Aaron? Why'd you do this? And so I said, Suzanne. And they all laughed, right? As a 33-year-old adult. And then she said this don't poke, which absolutely helped me.
That's so good.
But imagine a kid doing that.
Yeah.
They're going to get yelled at.
Yeah.
I got
bad kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Why would you do something like that? You know it's wet. I knew it was wet, and I still did it as an adult.
As an adult, yeah.
But it's funny because they knew that there was no malice on this. I wasn't being like, I'm going to make Suzanne do this again.
Yeah.
I was curious and I was impulsive, and then she did don't poke, and I can't tell you how well that worked with me. And that's a prompt.
Now, is that more of the hyperactivity ADHD? Because I don't think I personally am like that.
This would be the impulsivity,
Okay.
right? The acting before thinking. So kids who like punch somebody and then they say ow.
Okay.
Right? Acting before thinking.
Yes. I don't think I'm an impulsive person.
All right. Well,
know.
if you're ADHD, mainly inattentive type, but yeah,
Yes.
you might not have much impulsivity.
Yeah.
But this is this is my life where
I know it would be satisfying to poke that.
It
And
wasn't.
I would think about it, but
It wasn't even satisfying because I was like, I knew it was wet. Like, what are
yeah.
you doing?
Yeah. You're just like, doop.
Yeah. But and so yeah, he talks about the inhibition of expression of action and emotions, right? And that's where the emotional outbursts come from. When we get really angry and we feel it in the now, we act. Yeah. And that was so frustrating for me. Yeah. Something that my friend just told me who's struggling with their ADHD, they were in a counseling meeting, and this talks about the depth and complexity of ADHD. She had a really hard time booking a haircut appointment. She has 2 kids. She has to take time to look at her schedule, find time, call the barber, call the hairstylist, whatever, find a time that works for both of them. And so she just put it off forever. So the counselor's like, let's do it right now. She's like, okay. And so they did it, and yeah, done. She's like, how do you feel? She's like, I feel like shit. And they talked about that, it's hard for us to do simple tasks, but when we finally accomplish it, we don't necessarily feel good. We feel shame because it's like, why did it take me so long to book a haircut, which is supposed to be simple? So we don't just avoid stuff because, time blindness or now versus not now, or becoming overwhelmed. But then there's that shame, embarrassment and regret we have of, I could have done this 2 weeks ago and it would have been better.
Yeah. And you could have saved yourself all that stress about it.
Yeah.
If you did it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
No.
And now you did it now. Now you feel shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we avoid things for so many reasons. And that shame and guilt is really intense. We feel that. It's uncomfortable. And so we just don't deal with it. It's easier not to deal with it than to actually face it.
And that's that hump I'm constantly battling.
Yeah. Is it that the hump of shame and guilt, or
That hump of just like doing it now, like get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done. Don't put it off.
Yep.
Kind of like how you like to break your emails down. I'll just view it as emails and then I won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That alone, I still struggle with.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's something that took me years to figure out, right? Is to really break it down to minuscule steps.
Yeah.
Because then it seems more doable for me. And
Yeah.
also, it looks better. If you just say write emails and then you just scratch off one line, but if you scratch off 5,
Satisfying.
super satisfying. And some emails are like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, I got a dopamine hit for doing something that was pretty easy.
Okay, I gotta start doing that. I just gotta break it down more, I guess.
And then you get that motivation too, right? That, a piece of candy. Ooh, piece of dopamine. But if you do like 17 emails and then you just get to scratch off one line, not nearly as satisfying.
Not at all.
No.
I'm like, well, why would I do this next time? These 10 emails took me 4 hours when it really was only 10 minutes. But
Right? Right? Yeah. Even working on this course, right? I'm like, work on time blindness course. I'm like, no, scratch that out. And I was specific. I was like, add this picture.
Yeah.
Work on this specific slide.
oh wow,
Right? Because I'm like, oh yeah, look what I did.
yeah.
You
See,
know?
I'll write. I have done that before, but then my wife's like, "This is insane. Why are you doing this?" I'm like, there's no point explaining it. It's just how I work.
If it works for you though, right? And
Yeah.
she doesn't need to understand it.
No, that's
There's
what I
no
said.
rhythm or rhyming or
yeah.
rhythm to our madness. It just works.
It just works.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
It's wild, man.
How are we for time, Drew?
I was gonna say it is. Speaking of time blindness, 3:05.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not
Pretty
bad at
good.
all.
Man, do you want to talk about more about it? Because before I leave, I would love to touch on your Yukon
Oh, yeah, sure.
experience.
Yeah.
Before we go, we have about a half hour. and
Sure.
I feel like it'd
Yeah.
be a shame not to know about that.
Do you want to put on a timer or something so we don't lose track of time?
I think
I can just I'll
he'll
at
know.
20 after I'll
Okay.
do this.
Okay.
Crazy.
Are you gonna make a noise or
Did you get, have you,
like
did you,
caca?
that reminds me of, what's that from? The puppet movie.
I have no idea.
I haven't seen those in a long time.
Oh, what's that called? Team America?
Oh, Team America.
Do you remember Team America?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
that reminded me of. What do you want to know about the Yukon?
So you live there.
Yeah. So
I gotta know at first, like, why?
why? Well, so my wife's originally from Simcoe, right?
Okay.
I'm originally from Kingston. She was working for an Indigenous consulting firm in Ottawa. She was there in August one year, and some deputy chief at the time came up to her and was like, "What do you do here? Do you work full time?" She's like, "No," and he's like, "Do you want to come work for us in this in this town, this village called Old Crow, which is the most northwestern community in Canada. So it's above the Arctic Circle. It's a remote flying community of 250 people, home of the Vuntut-Gwitchin First Nation. And so my wife came from that meeting. We were at the cottage at that time. She said, "Do you want to move to the Yukon?" I said, "What?" And my contract at Queen's University was coming up at next year, and so we just said, "Screw it! Like, let's go for it." And I had just proposed that July, so we got married that October, thinking that we'd be up there quite soon. So it was a year later, but yeah, we moved up. We moved up to Whitehorse in 2016. Lived in Whitehorse for that one summer, and then moved to Old Crow for 2 years, where she worked for the self-governing First Nation. So they have their own self-governing First Nation government. And I worked as an educational assistant up there at Chief Jay Gitlett school from kindergarten to high school. But like, I can't remember if it was 42 or 72 students in total.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we lived there for 2 years, which was awesome. Our main vehicle was a snowmobile. Yeah, there's one store.
Sounds cold.
Oh yeah, yeah, easy -4. You get -40 for a couple weeks. We got -50 one time with the wind chill.
Whew.
That's where you wear it like you don't show skin.
I've been in -60 before.
-60?
Yeah.
Where?
In Alberta, in Banff.
Whoo!
They actually shut the ski resorts down.
Yeah.
And I remember grabbing the bus door, my hand stuck to the door.
Barehanded?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So I have experienced that.
Yeah. It's bloody cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we were up in Old Crow for 2 years, and that's where you get 24 hours of sunlight and 24 hours of darkness for a couple weeks.
Okay.
I'll never forget being at the school, and I think it was like 1:15 p.m. or something like that. You'd see the sun rise. You'd see it just come up
And then go
back down.
Oh my.
And you're like, that was it.
Weird.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So yeah, we were there for 2 years. Great, wonderful experience, right? I never shot anything, but I went hunting with my buddy there to get some caribou and, chop my own wood. And having a snowmobile as your own vehicle was pretty, like, your main vehicle.
Yeah.
To go to the store.
Are there forests up there?
Forests?
Yeah. Like, where are you getting the wood from?
There are
In
forests.
my head, I just picture ice sheets.
No, that's more like Nunavut where there's no trees, but Yukon
Okay.
they're not big. These are like 100-year-old older than that trees that are quite small.
Okay.
Right? But if you find like a good creek bed where they're getting good nutrients, you can find thicker stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, tons of forests up there.
Cool.
You've got not super big mountains, but you've got mountains around
And in the summertime, is it still just snow and ice, or is there
No, you'll get like 25. I can't remember if it hit 30 up there or not.
even above the Arctic Circle?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just pictured it was just always ice.
Yeah. me
No,
too.
it did snow in June one time.
Okay.
It snowed in June, which was interesting. But yeah, we lived there for 2 years, and then we moved down to Whitehorse for 5, where she continued to work with that government, and I was an EA again, and still again a couple weeks of -40 in Whitehorse, and
That's wild living.
oh yeah, dude, it was awesome. Mountains everywhere. The bears were a bit scary. You always have to have bear spray on you just in case. And
Polar bears.
no polar bears up there.
oh.
Just grizzlies and blacks.
okay.
But I remember one time I think someone said there were wolves in town in Old Crow one time, and I'm pretty sure my mom and I saw a wolf leaving Whitehorse one time. It could have been a Malamute husky that somebody had, but it was huge, and it could have been a wolf.
I've seen them before in person. They're scary.
Oh, yeah,
Much bigger than you think.
much bigger,
Much
bigger.
bigger.
Oh yeah.
Scary.
We were accidentally. We thought a wolf was a we thought a wolf was a caribou once in Old Crow, so we started chasing it until we got closer. We're like, oh, that's a single wolf. Like, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah. No, but it was awesome, man. I love Whitehorse. I love the north, the mountains. It's cold, and to fly, it's expensive to fly out to Vancouver, and then like coming back here with the kids, it was a 3-hour time difference and like 12 hours. And you got to fly to Vancouver and then Toronto and then drive here. So that was a lot, but it's a beautiful lifestyle.
Yeah.
I love it. But I mean, Norfolk has its gems too. I'm learning. I still haven't been here for a year yet too, right? So,
Oh, so you're very new here.
oh yeah, I just moved last July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, I have to show you some spots.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yes.
I'm still getting to know the community, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
feet wet.
We got to show you around.
Do it.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife grew up here, so she knows some spots, but
Yes.
there's spots that she doesn't even know,
Okay.
right? Growing up here.
I moved here. I'm losing track of time. Time blindness. Maybe 2015
Okay.
seasonally, 2015, 16 seasonally, and then onward it was full time.
Right on.
So at least 8 years, I would say.
Okay.
Kind of living here. And then I, grew up coming here visiting my
Right.
grandparents and families.
Geez, so you've lived here like just almost as long as we lived in the
Yeah.
Yukon. Okay.
Yeah. Because I came from Banff and started working here. Like I did the interview over the phone in Banff, flew home, did an interview here, got the job, commuted from Hamilton for 2 years, and then lived seasonally in Turkey Point, and then permanent Port Dover, then Langton, house burned down, then Simcoe.
Right. That's a long
All over.
commute from Hamilton.
Yes. But I mean, like I'm used to driving that drive as a kid. Well, not physically driving as a
Right.
kid, but in the back. So like the distance wasn't new to me.
Okay. I'm not used to people drive. Like there's somebody on my volleyball team who's driving from Brantford to play volleyball. Like I'm used to again, Whitehorse is so small. They've got everything.
Yeah.
Kingston's got everything. I'm not used to people driving long
I have a
distances.
Frisbee game tonight in Hamilton, 6:30. I gotta go
What?
there and back.
That's a long way for a Frisbee game.
Yeah. Well, it's our 12th year running, and I'm now the captain, so I gotta.
See, that's a big enough barrier for me not to go. I'm like, that's too far. I
drive?
can't. No, that's too much for me.
Drew really likes frisbee.
I'm obsessed.
Oh, see, I can't stand Frisbee. Ultimate Frisbee?
Ultimate.
I tried to play once, and for one, I can't throw a Frisbee. I can throw a thrower. I
I'll
can't
show
do
you.
this nonsense.
I'll show you.
I can't.
My team's called the One Flick Wonders, so you have to know how to flick.
I can't flick.
The best person I've ever seen was my brother, and I'm like just below him in skill, I would say. But like that guy could flick a football field with ease, just boom, and just all the way down.
Your cardio has to be crazy good too.
Yes.
Like you're constantly running.
Yeah, we had a new guy play last week, and he's a soccer player. I was like, oh, great, he'll be able to keep up. No, end of the game, he was laying down on the field.
No
I'm like,
way.
buddy, I thought you were a soccer player.
Yeah.
Cardio is intense. Like you're constantly.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the disc, it's always flying all over the place. So constantly.
See, if you're on soccer, if you're defense, like you don't have to be running all the time.
Yeah, when we play a zone, but I mean, like the zone's always shifting.
Although he's legit. Talking about
Yeah.
zone,
Well,
you got
and
strategies and
zone's
stuff.
basic defense.
He's the captain.
Zone is basic defense. There's
Look at me.
there's cup strategy. there's tiered strategies where you do 3-2-3.
Yeah.
Our zone is just like you're just trying to get the person with the disc. You're forcing them to throw it down the center, and then you have a position called mid, and they're placed there just to get intercept that frisbee. That's their whole job.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than I thought it was
super
just,
cool. Well, people confuse.
Do you ever play frisbee golf? Like disc golf?
Only when I go to Prince Edward Island with my brother,
Okay.
because the number one course in the world is in Prince Edward Island.
No way.
Yeah. So
See-
he goes to that, and so I've seen it. It's
Okay.
it's stunning.
I got into disc golf in Whitehorse, going up mountains and stuff.
Okay.
And that was super fun. A lot more fun than I had anticipated.
It's very different, and they have different leans and stuff.
Oh yeah, the numbers and stuff, and
Too much.
I do the tomahawk throw.
Yeah,
it stays-
we call it a hammer in Ultimate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where it goes upside down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we call that a hammer.
I'm not playing with you. Don't ever try and get. I'm not.
I prefer team sports, so that's why I like volleyball. I like
Okay.
hockey. I like ultimate frisbee.
Oh, you play hockey? I can't skate.
Oh.
Can't skate worth a dang.
I know a friend.
Do you know what? Sorry, ADHD moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what sports and activity gives you?
What?
Dopamine.
There you go.
When you play sports, you're getting dopamine. You're getting serotonin. All the feel good stuff.
Yeah.
I play 3 sports a week, plus yoga, plus
Oh my god.
weight training.
Oh
3
my
days a
god.
week.
You're searching for the dopamine.
Extremely active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes you. Do you feel more centered and focused afterwards?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm lazy. I'm like locked in.
Because you've got the dopamine and your brain is working at the level that it's supposed to be now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I like.
So that makes sense to why you're driving almost an hour to go play. Mm-hmm. You're searching for it. Mm-hmm. See, this is what you can search for dopamine in positive and negative ways,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you've got a very positive way.
Yes, and I do struggle with anxiety a lot, so I find if I'm extremely active, it's almost non-existent.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the wintertime, when the summer sports go away and I'm not getting as much sunlight, anxiety goes whoop.
Oh, really? Hey.
Yeah.
Dang. That's hard.
I do play winter sports, but not as much.
Okay.
And it's why I like when I go to yoga, I specifically do flow, because if I do anything slower, I start thinking about things. Whereas with
Yeah.
flow, you're going from one pose to the next pose to the next pose. So you don't really have time to think about
Yep.
what's happening in an hour, what's happening tonight. It's like you're just thinking about, oh, next pose, oh, next pose.
Nice.
So that's why I'm like flow, hot flow. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. No time to think.
Yeah. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes. You don't get barraged.
Yeah. Oh my god. So, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, Yukon. We got
Oh yeah.
went on an ADHD tangent there.
I mean, the Yukon's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How can you not go on a tangent about it?
Is there an ADHD day?
An ADHD day? No, there is an ADHD month.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
October.
I feel like we should
full
get
month.
almost my buddy Josh on, and we'll have like an ADHD on the ADHD.
on the ADHD month. Yeah.
When is
October?
October. Okay.
Which is hard because it's fair. It's fair here, which I've learned is nuts. Because I tried to do I did an
big thing.
ADHD hike last October and stuff. Mm-hmm. Actually, since you're so active, maybe you can talk me into it. I'm trying to do a half marathon
I've thought about that.
in October, specifically to raise money for CADAC, which is the Canadian ADHD or ADD Association of Canada, I guess. And I could raise money for them, but I haven't signed up because I'm too anxious.
Okay.
And part of it is because it's in Toronto, and I don't know if we spend the night. Do I get a hotel? Do I drive there and then drive back? Toronto's really busy, so I'm trying to decide whether I could just run from like Dover to Haldeman. Not Haldeman, sorry, Waterford. If
Okay.
that's 21 kilometers
Down
I
the
don't
trail
know.
there?
Yeah,
You could map it out.
I might have to, but come run with me.
I hate running, but I've always wanted to do a marathon. Well, not always. As
marathon or
as soon
half?
as I turn
I would
30.
love to do a full one in my lifetime. Like it
Yeah.
would be cool when you're on your deathbed and be like, yeah, I did a marathon once. Like I
Yeah.
did that.
Start a half with me
Yeah, no,
I feel
for
like,
sure, yeah.
Hey, we
That's
got to
where
break
it
it down. We
started.
got to break
Yeah.
it down, guys.
and get that external accountability, that body doubling. It's hard for us to stay internally motivated, but if you have somebody to keep you.
Yeah.
Like cleaning your house. You probably won't clean your house, but if you have friends over, do you clean it quickly?
well, I had to clean today because you were coming over.
Yeah, it's external accountability.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I remember as a child, I would always clean my room if I was having a friend over.
Yeah.
That's the only time I really.
And if you're worried, that's something you could do too. If you're worried, like I know Groundswell here has, well, they're in Waterford now, but they have like a sprint day where they get everybody. I don't know if it's all in or they have people online, but just having somebody there can provide you enough external accountability that you can focus.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're struggling like doing your pictures and stuff like that, you could like, I've thought about doing that actually, just like being on what they call stream. I don't know. Just signing up for like, this is an hour, like body doubling session where you can be here, tell me what you're working on, and don't talk, but just work. But just have somebody on that screen to be like, Aaron's here, like he's watching me.
Yeah.
Gives me that external accountability, right? That body doubling.
Well, and I'll edit with an assistant sometimes, and that's when I get the most done.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, they're working. Well, I can't be on a YouTube video or something. They're going to judge me. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Just body doubling, creating that external accountability,
yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man, this has been an exciting talk.
Yeah,
I told Drew, I was like, this isn't a one episode thing. There's just like so much. We have a
there's
whole
a lot.
nother slide we haven't even looked at.
I mean, you have a ton of present. What was the other one?
HSJCC
And the
training
criminal
2.
behavior. What's
Oh, this is the. Well, I can't even remember what. Oh, that was the default mode network. No, that's all good.
okay?
I'll just bring me back for a presentation. I'll do a presentation.
Absolutely.
And
But
we'll
the-
check in with lists that I'm gonna start doing.
There you go. But this is the thing, right? There's so much more to ADHD than people think, and people think it's a school-based disorder, right? Like once you leave school, it's done. It's gone.
or when you're an adult, it goes away or something.
Yeah, unbelievably not true. And ADHD seeps into so many different aspects of our life, right? It's going to affect your relationships, whether that's peer or romantic. That's going to affect your education in post-secondary. It's going to affect your employment, right? Like I started getting really bored as an EA, sitting in the back of the class, just listening to the same thing over and over. I was getting really bored. I would, kids loved me because I'm ridiculous, but like I started going on longer and longer walks, right? To yeah, it was hard, right? And if people are doing jobs that aren't suited to their strengths or their needs, right? I know people who have like 7 different careers by the time they're 33, because
It's
they
why
can't.
I can't work for like an employment. So I can't be employed. It's like I get bored.
Yeah.
I have to do.
He's doing it. He's doing the thing.
Hey.
We
He's
still
doing
got
the
time.
thing.
All right.
But doesn't that make sense, right? You've got 3 jobs,
Yeah.
right?
And they all excite me.
Yeah. For a certain amount of time, and you go and you do them for a certain amount, and then you come back.
Yeah.
Right. And even with my coaching business, right? I do coaching. I work with CADAC and do some youth coaching. I do presentations. I'm trying to do this course. I'm trying to have different aspects within it so that I'm not doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't get bored. I love this work, but sometimes coaching can be a lot and it can be draining. And so I try and include different things, right? To make sure that this is sustainable and can go on for a while.
Yeah. That stimuli,
Yeah.
that dopamine.
Gotta get it.
Gotta get it.
Gotta get it. Just like,
We need to make a t-shirt like dopamine chasers or something.
There you go. Oh, there
I
you
could
go.
Get Eric to make one for me.
yeah.
Although he made that one. I love that one.
Yeah, he
that's a
did.
good one.
That one's
Yeah.
sick.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Gotta rep it, right?
Yeah.
This is the only one. I did it for a presentation at Fanshawe, and people have apparently gone on the folk website to try and find it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll have to-
we have gotten DMs. So
Have you?
Yeah. So Eric
Nice.
does all the custom stuff just kind of on his own. So he'll have all the screens. So if someone does ask and he has blanks available, he's like, look, I got a white t-shirt. I'll put it on there for you.
No way.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool that you get DMs about it.
Yeah, we get DMs because he does a lot of custom things on the side that
does a
I don't even
ton.
know about.
Yeah.
So people ask me like, oh, I really like that design. I'm like, what? It's like, oh, didn't know he did that one.
Yeah, there's a lot he does. It's quite incredible.
Yeah. I'm only involved with the folk specific designs to the brand.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It is obviously associated, but I'm like, yeah, you just do it. Like I don't need to be a part of that. It's
Yeah.
so many people asking.
Yeah. Good for you guys. It's killing it.
Yeah, it's doing well.
It's moving now.
Selfie.
Selfie? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
selfie
selfie
time? You do
before we
selfies?
forget. Yeah.
Yeah,
for
you know how many times I thought like I should just do it right now, right in the middle of the podcast. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait till the end. I'm like, what if I forget? I just kept looking at my phone. I'm like, don't forget.
How did? Yeah. You remembered by looking at your phone, or what'd you do?
No, I like every 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, selfie
Yeah.
in my head.
And I should show you. We even have a checklist for the podcast. Click that tab.
Nice.
Because we would start a podcast. I'm like, our camera died because I forgot to plug it in. And so now before you come in, we check, go through the whole thing together.
And that's essentially like get ready, do done. What does it look like when you're ready for a podcast?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, do I have to get it in here?
Yep. We'll do a.
Do we do it
you should-
sideways? How do we do?
Well,
that usually?
you can do the Gen Z way, Drew, where you do front camera, super wide. Well, that works. All right.
and just not look at it.
Yeah,
while I do it?
yeah.
Really?
It's
That's
like the
ballsy.
younger generation
They
way
can
of
just know.
Oh, really?
because it gets wider.
yeah.
Try it,
Oh, he's doing it.
and you got to
try
hit
it.
the volume button, right?
The volume button
the
does
top
it?
volume button.
That's the key.
Yeah. Okay.
Try this one. See, and then look at the difference. It'll be pretty different.
Yeah. It's wider.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, it's way wider.
Yeah.
I guess so it's easier to
It's a
get.
bit more clear too, isn't it? With that back.
I think it is.
with the
Yeah.
cameras. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
the
some
camera's
Gen
way
Z
better.
friends because, you
Damn,
know, I'm 30,
learning.
so technically 21.
There you go.
Yeah, I have good friends that are 21, 22, 23, and they teach me all these little tricks and stuff.
There you go.
I'm like, fuck, I feel old.
Sometimes it's good to have that ADHD delay, isn't it?
Yeah. I have friends that are 40 and I have friends that are 20, and I can hang out with either of them anytime. I just fluctuate between the two.
Well, and think about where if your friend has in their 40s has ADHD, think about where they are.
True. Maybe.
Maybe they're closer to your age.
Yeah. Maybe.
A staircase.
Yeah.
Crazy, hey?
Well, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Oh, not a problem.
This has been a really exciting, and I
Educational.
just feel so much relief
Aw.
talking about everything.
Right on.
And like seeing that you obviously struggle with things that I struggle with, and so does Drew, and it's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's okay.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that you feel almost that relief or sense of inclusion as well.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Where do they get help?
Oh, man.
How can you help more people?
Great question. My website is just aaronbailey.ca. I'm on Facebook at, good God, I don't even know. ADHD Coach Aaron. I think that's me on Instagram as well. But yeah, my email and everything's on aaronbailey.ca.
Okay.
And my email is just aaron@aaronbailey.com.
And we'll
.ca.
link the shit out of it. So
Oh, awesome.
people
Yeah, thanks.
can find it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be better with social media. It's not my thing.
Same.
But oh, really? Because you're good at it.
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
I
my
also
person-
don't do I make the content. I don't distribute it.
Oh, see, I need a distributor.
The pod I do, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, find me via my email.
Okay.
Send me a message and
Great.
anything I can do to help.
Great.
Right? Yeah.
And if they see you in the streets, like, I have ADHD.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Let's
Nice
be the
to-
ADHD clan.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I've worked at so many camps and kids with ADHD, once they figure out I have it, they come to me. We've had like an ADHD canoe,
Oh, cool.
you know, and yeah, yeah. And I think that's the point of this ADHD folk too, right? Is to make it more visible and to be less ashamed about it.
Yeah.
Right. And to give these stickers out and people can see and be like, hey,
Well, I remember you came to the booth at the folk booth at the fair.
Yeah.
That's how I got that sticker on there.
yeah.
Because you started talking, I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
And you're very open about it. I was like, okay. And at the time, I was planning on making a podcast. So you were already on my list.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
So when the friend or someone you know messaged me,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. He's on there.
Right on.
But it was good. It just kind of brought you to the forefront. I was like, I'm going to message this guy right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I appreciate being on here. I hope it was good. I had quite a bit of nerves being here, but
I think you killed it.
oh,
Yeah. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Adios.
Goodbye.
And that's that.
Is this clock an hour behind?